Hello everyone, and welcome to Old World. Just give me 1 second here, getting set up. We are live with a round 2 match between Mojo and Auro. All right, let's take a look here. And let's take a look at the map. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 city sites, it seems, on one side. So that would be 8 total. And then we have 2 in the center. So it looks like we only have 10 city sites total. This would be a dual wide coastal rain basin map. Forgive me. All right. With us today, our players are Mojo. Mojo's first game in the tournament, he won. Both players have won their first game in the tournament. This is a round 2 match. Mojo faced off against Fiddler, a newcomer to the multiplayer scene who held his own very well, but Mojo was eventually able to overpower his opponent with the nation of Egypt, and interestingly enough, actually ran a zealot for the entire game. I believe he had 3 kings on the throne, 2 or 3 kings, and all of the leaders he ran for the entire game were a zealot. So that I found that to be particularly interesting about his choice of play in that match. On the other end, we have Auro. Auro, also a newcomer to the multiplayer scene, faced off against his first opponent and won in what some would consider a pretty big upset, mostly because Ninja is an incredibly skilled opponent, very much expected to do well in this tournament. Auro's a first timer, and also Ninja just had a wealth of advantages at his disposal in that game. They cranked out a marathon 7-hour session, and in a brilliant tactical display of coming from behind and just sticking it out and just, fighting his way to the bitter end, Auro was able to overcome a stronger and more developed opponent. So should be an interesting match. Both players in their matches sort of came from behind. Fiddler, also a newcomer in the Mojo match, kind of surged ahead quickly and got a bit of a tech lead, more advanced troops, but Mojo similarly kind of just had a stable economy and came from behind and was able to overpower his opponent, and Auro was able to play defensively against his opponent and overwhelm him as well. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have a really good match today. Super excited to see more gameplay from Mojo. He's a veteran of the multiplayer scene. Always an opportunity to learn a thing or two when watching his games. I was lucky enough to have a brief chat with him after his previous match. I asked him a couple of questions about the choices he made and gained some insight. He gained some insight from my commentary as well, and it's just all around good time. I feel like one of the great things about this tournament and the live streaming and the commentaries and the whole ecosystem of us learning and watching and playing the games together is we all get to learn new things and interesting tactics and strategy about the game. So if you're joining with us live, I appreciate you being here. Hello, Fluffy Bunny, and the 6 or 7 other people in the stream today. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Go around to the playlist and watch other videos. Leave a follow, leave a like, leave a subscribe. All of that helps us out tremendously, and it keeps us motivated to keep creating content for the game that we all love. It's a huge help to everybody. There's multiple creators streaming this content live. We're all taking the time to do it. in addition to the players who are doing a really fantastic job getting their games scheduled. It's just a real treat to be doing all this. So regardless how you're participating, please join in and feel free to comment, hop on the Discord, and join the conversation. It's a great time. We're all thrilled to be having more of this game played. So yeah, just to go over the map again for those who are joining us now, there's only 5 city sites on each side of the map, I believe. Do we have, is it 5 or 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, all right. So it's just 4. 4 on each side, and then 2 in the middle. So 10 sites total. It's a dual wide coastal rain basin. I believe Mojo took first pick. Yep. So Mojo had the pick order in this situation, I believe. So I'm under the impression that Auro chose the arena that we're fighting. So Mojo's taking his time on his first pick. Let's take a look at the starting area. We do have horses. It doesn't look like the players can see their starting horses. Yeah. Although there is a pin there, so I guess they can. Interesting. Yeah, so it looks like they can see quite a bit. I wonder why I can't share the same vision there, but that's fine. All right. So we do have horses. Whoops. Here we go. We do have horses. We have a growth resource. We have a game up here, so hunters would be always decent. A couple precious, so we could see a potential patrons pick or traders pick. 2 different pastures, so both Persia or the Hittites would be a viable opener. Let's see if they have any change on settings. Interestingly enough, allow negative cognomens is on, but I'm not sure how that setting actually conflicts with competitive mode. So that's a curiosity there. It does happen to be on here, but I think competitive mode would negate this, so I don't think it'll actually come into play. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they've deviated otherwise from any of the tournament settings. We have our first pick from Mojo here. He's opting to go with Assyria and a patron start. I like it. Going to take advantage of the fact that there are two precious resources. Oh, the density is on medium. Okay, fun. That gives us a little bit less. All right. So we have both players opting to ignore the husbandry start. I actually appreciate that. It's definitely very easy to feel like you have to play the map, have to pick a faction that says, oh, you know what, I want these pastures. I'm definitely going to go Persia, or definitely going to go with the Hittites who start with this opening technology to improve these right away. But you don't have to. If you want to capitalize on the precious as Assyria did, or perhaps, in Assyria's case, opting for military drill, that's totally a viable play. And here we have Carthage. I'm not really feeling strong about the Carthage pick just because of the nature of the arena. Again, I don't know for sure if Auro laid out the arena. I think he did, in which case we don't have any tribes on the map. So he's going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage there with his hiring ability. He'll still be able to clear quickly, but he's not going to get that really clutch opening 6 strength unit upgrade that Carthage is able to get. Definitely should be interesting there. So we have stone cutting opening on with Auro. Both players, the timer's still currently paused. I'm sure they'll probably start it on the next turn. We have some improvement already going on down here with Mojo. Obviously, very common to be going growth first. No real other option. He could do the game. Interestingly enough, he does have the option to go hunters here, but I kind of dig the Patrons capital. Patrons makes a very strong opening capital. You do have a border boost potential to get to several different precious resources, which could be exceptionally strong long term. And we also are going with a educated tactician. So we have a boost to science here. Our science rate to start is going to be 17 for Mojo. We have a boost to income. My impression of Mojo is that he really likes to have a padded income source if he can do it. And on the other side, we have another tactician. We have Swift Tactician on the other end. Interesting. Yep, and the horse is making an appearance again. This happened actually with Auro in the very first game, so this is quickly becoming a signature of his. Hopefully, it will bring him the same luck that it did in his first match, and we'll maybe see another win for the horse. They are simultaneous for 10 turns. No movement on Auro's side just yet. Let's see what else is interesting on the map. We have lots of fur up here, so we're going to see perhaps a little bit of an edge on the Assyrian side. A hunter seat in this location would just zoom both cities up in culture because we have precious for the patrons and then double fur for the hunters. Going to be really nice synergy there. But of course, you know, having 4 fur is going to give you plenty of culture regardless what family you place there. Okay. All right, we might have a restart here due to settings. Auro is observing some of the game settings. Realistic. Yep. Okay. If we have to restart, I will pause the stream momentarily. I will stop the stream and I will just recreate another stream. And the reason for that is because I don't want to take the time editing this section out for our friends on YouTube who will be watching later. Mojo is fine with the deviations. And Auro is also fine with the deviations, so we should be good. It will be a smaller map. I don't mind. I think it's fine for players to do deviations. I do sometimes wonder or worry that some players may not be fully aware of the impact of certain deviations. In one match, we had ruins on, and I don't think one player was fully aware of the importance of clearing the map and hunting for ruins compared to another player who gobbled up like 90% of the ruins on the map. But yeah, no, as long as you're aware of the impact of the settings and you certainly have preferences and your opponent agrees, then you don't have to strictly stick to the tournament rule format. We've had a couple of deviations in the tournament so far. Duplicate nations have been one of them. The default is just to play, you know, the separate nations, but we've had a couple of Hittite on Hittite matches or Assyria on Assyria. So deviations, of course, are welcome as long as both players agree. All right, so looking at some other sites, we have camps up here. Interesting. Yeah, we just have we're going to have a tight, quick game. We have a choke point coming through the center here for both nations, both sides of the map. Small mountain pass here, a small river pass here, and a small mountain pass here. Two of the passes protected by hills, one of the passes protected by river, and of course a dense forest in the center of the map. So this should make a pretty interesting battleground. Again, both nations are tacticians. However, oh, and they both start with slingers, actually. Yeah, I forgot. Carthage does start with a slinger. So both will have the ability to do sneaky, sneaky stuff, ambushing the other one out of the woods. I'm going to have to look at that setting that shuts those pins off. Doop. There we go. I know our fans watching love the pins, but I don't need to look at them for the entire game. I personally myself never use pins, but you know, everybody had their different preferences. It looks, oh, we ran out of orders here, so it looks like he's going to be getting himself set up to do a shrine right away, probably get an early Zoroastrianism opening. We are a artisan's capital, always makes a strong capital, good for culture rushing, good for getting out very quick early development. You do get 2 workers right away. It's always can be good to start artisan seat 2nd or 3rd just to catch up on that worker momentum in a later city, but opening with 2 workers is certainly not bad at all. It allows you to get your growth improvement online. He could opt for a second farm. He could do 2 growth right away, or you can do, as common with artisans and the nations that start with divination. Kush is another one that has both access to divination and its shrines right away. It can be common to open with a growth resource like normal, but also get started on a shrine right away. Very, very convenient there. Nice to see that. And the shrine that we are going for is the growth shrine. So you still kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, and you're getting more growth in your opening city while also opening up with a shrine and settling your religion right away. So that's pretty strong synergy there. Kush, interestingly enough, also has a growth shrine that they can open with. So both Carthage and Kush can do that little trick. We have located our first barbarian camp on Assyria. This is something that's really interesting about Mojo that I've noted more than once. He does not opt to move his military unit in the first turn. He goes out scouting. Often you'll see players scout in a direction and kind of follow at least a little bit behind with their military unit. Maybe they move their military unit 1 or 2 fatigue and get the scout out further, or the other way around. Maybe they move their scout out, their military unit out first, and then scout further the next turn. But Mojo seems content to leave his military unit behind and pretty much get clear eyes on the camp before he spends any orders moving the units. That's interesting. And we already have our first attack on the camp with Auro. I'm going to get their names mixed up, I'm sure, because they're similar. Cool thing about that tactician is if you're firing from woods as slingers, you do get that 10% combat boost. It's not really translating much in this situation because of... and a crit. Awesome. Great. Love to see it. Really nice addition to the clear momentum there for Auro. So he's going to have no trouble settling that barb camp, and he will take no damage on his opening unit. He'll be able to move directly to the next camp right away. In fact, he can even make it. We can get started on that next clear right away. That's going to be really nice in a situation where we have so few sites and will be fully settled. Certainly. Yeah, that was 2 crits in a row. We'll see if Mojo gets any luck with his crits. Yes, so for starting resources, starting science, Carthage, I didn't check Carthage's, we do have a tactician, right, it's Swift, so we have 14 science on one player and 17 on the other, so only a slight advantage to Mojo to open the game with. Both players are opting for stone cutting first, going for economy, makes sense. These choke points in the center could definitely create a very tense atmosphere. And this is one of the things that I've been talking about in some conversations about map sizes and map layouts. Sometimes there's this concern that a larger map can lead to longer games, but honestly, this game has the potential to be a longer game as well, solely because of these choke points. If both players get themselves in a strong position where the other player can't enter these territories, we could be in for a long haul. It could take quite some time. It could necessitate siege, or it could necessitate a clear technological superiority for one player to be able to break into the other player's side of the map and threaten a win. Carthage doing Carthage thing, wasting no time buying that barbarian. Between the stun and the ability to purchase the barbarian, you're just going to take 0 damage on your opening unit. Very, very strong combination with the archetype and the national ability. You just have no way of taking damage at the start of the game. You'll stun the camp and you'll just increase the size of your forces. Yes, each side of the map only has 4 cities. The capital, the free cities right here, nestled behind the mountains. Very safe from incoming invasions. There's no pass right here, so you just have to loop around to get out. And then the other 2 are up here, and then we make way for 2 in the center. So there are only 10 city sites on this map, 4 on each side and 2 in the middle. Up here we have lots of growth. A couple precious. This could be a decent city site. And in here we're nestled in the woods with way more growth. We have 2 barley up here. You can't quite see it, but there's 2 barley, 2 wheats, and some game in the woods there. Pearls and such all along the coast, but I'm not sure that they'll come into play unless maybe Mojo decides to spot them at one point and, I don't know, perhaps use colonies to get out here to boost the culture in his capital even further, but I feel like he's just not going to need it. Settler coming up. Oh! We have a bit of a setback here for Mojo. He was too far. He's clearing from a hill here. And, yeah. All right, so what happened here, he was too far from this camp. He's clearing from a hill here. I suspect he got a crit or something after a unit spawned. Apologize for missing that. But then, I think it just respawned the camp. Oh, no, is it healing up because he's too far away? I'm not really sure what's going on here, but that camp should be cleared by now, and it's not. So that's going to become a issue for Mojo. This will, because it's 2 tiles away and it can't hit anything, it will heal itself, although I'm not sure if it does that when it's stunned. So let's find out when the turn ends and double check on that rule. But in normal situations, since it's so far away, that's one of the disadvantages from trying to attack from a hill and save yourself from counterattack. It will cause the camp to heal. And I'm pretty sure it heals about 3 or 4 health each turn. So let's see what happens here once the year ends. All right, so it's not healing up. Interesting. I wonder what happened here. All right, well, he's going to lose some time there. I would have come for this free site if that momentum had backed up. We're going for a promotion. Oh, right, and we have a crit. All right, so we're good. We did get a lucky crit here, just a little bit behind in momentum, but the gods of crit decided to grace Mojo with his blessing as well. Makes sense, he is Assyria. What is his crit chance? His crit chance is 26%, so that makes sense. And we're good and settled. We're opting for a second settler right away in the rider seat. You can get away with that level of greed as Carthage because you do have the ability to hire mercenaries, so it's not as necessary to get a military unit right away. We'll see if he opts to go for purchasing another tribe right away. Barbarian, rather. Yeah, it's going to be, I think Auro will be a little bit disappointed to discover that there are no tribes on the map, and that will be one of the consequences of allowing medium density to slip through. Tribes are the last thing that are populated on a map, so it starts with human or computer nation stuff, cities. Then, of course, the free sites are included in that number. The barbarian sites are also included in that number. And then after barbarians comes tribes. So because we have a limited amount of city sites on this setting, the 1 or 2 tribes that could have been on this map are not accessible. So it can be tricky to keep track of all the little ways every single setting would impact the way a game is generated. I still don't think it will create a major issue for Carthage. Not a big deal. But it does eliminate one of those advantages of being able to get very quick 6 strength units. It's also going to translate to a legitimacy hit for both players, because both players, on average, you can expect 6 to 12-ish or more legitimacy from meeting tribes and declaring war on them. Or even if you don't, there are resource boosts or courtiers from accepting truce and making good relations with tribes. So it's the lack of tribes on this map could contribute to an interesting element of gameplay. I feel like their opening legitimacy will be a little bit lower. going for rhetoric next. So we opened with stone cutting. We're going for rhetoric. What are our options? We have drama, polis, composite bow. Okay, so Mojo is not going to be the cheeky fella who goes directly for composite bow. I'm okay with that. We've seen 1 or 2 Ballister rushes already in this tournament. We don't need to make it a trend, although it is a fun tactic. Rhetoric for a law. And probably... well, interesting. I suppose that you could do drama for the free settler. Polis to get close to forestry. You're probably going to need that. But alright. I definitely appreciate rhetoric on the coastal rain basins maps. There's usually strong river networks that make it that make exploration worth it, but I'm not really seeing massive river networks in this particular generation, so might pay off a little less. Over at Carthage, we're going directly for border boost. That's one of the unfortunate things about Carthage opening with aristocracy is that it's almost impossible to get a very large border boost with that nation because you're going to hit this really quickly, so you're going to have to make the decision to either discard it or just take it on 2 or 3 of your cities, which is not bad, especially in this situation when there's only a few cities in general. All right, so we're making notes. Auro is making notes. We see traders is going to come down here. That's nice. He could get access to gobbling up these coastal resources, which is nice. Especially if we put the boat in the water, he'd even be able to use colonies to purchase along the coast and just get naval movement around these mountains could become very handy in later parts of the game, especially if you're early enough to keep buying all the way across. That could be a very interesting thing we could see in this match. Would be curious to see if either player thinks of that. And he's going to be placing riders up here. So we'll have 2 riders, 1 traders, and an artisan seat. That's pretty solid. We are purchasing barbarians in the center, and Carthage is already making his way to clear a central site. No vision from Mojo up top yet. Mojo's map vision has extended to the central forested area, but he does not know what's happening in the valley up north. Whereas Auro already has a scout on this side of the map. In fact, he can see that Mojo is clearing this camp. Be curious if Auro decides to buy this barbarian unit right now. I think I would probably do that. I think I would take the opportunity to take as many barbarian units as I can just to pad my numbers, just to give my opponents stuff to kill once we are in conflict. They only upgrade to strength 4 units, but hey, extra units are better than no units at all. All right, so we have some aggressive scouting here by Auro. Is that his last fatigue? No, it's not. But he can dip into the woods here. And Mojo is realizing that the map is quite small. That's my guess, is that holy shit reaction from that player. Yes, if Mojo is not used to close-knit arenas, he is in for a real treat, because again, we only have 4 city sites to each player, and 2 in the middle, 1 already claimed by Carthage. So Mojo, I'm not familiar with his playstyles. I know he is very well experienced, but if he's not used to feeling pressured, well, then he's going to have a difficult time in this arena, because I suspect Carthage will have no issue gobbling up both city sites in no time. So it might be a situation where you're dealing with 6 city sites to 4 for the majority of the game, so he will likely come in at a disadvantage. We're not seeing a military unit coming up with Mojo. We are seeing barracks right away. I love this. This is great to see right away. This is getting him his precious too, so that you're doing double duty over here. But it's always great to see barracks on Assyria as soon as possible, since it's just a strong advantage and you might as well run with it. You also can put an officer in here, which will increase your science. Already looking at in a consistent science lead with Mojo for now, but we can see if he can. We'll see if he can maintain that. That might be his win condition if he gets out expanded by Carthage. Love this as well. Even though we're playing Carthage, we do have another military unit coming online right away. Not ideal to have the capital running that, because this is usually your best spot to run specialists. We already have an apprenticed acolyte. I wonder if that came from an event or if he went straight for it. But we're going for a military unit. I think that's a wise play when you're this close, when you're head-to-head. And even if you're Carthage and you have these travel units, you just want to make sure that your opponent can't run up on you and put you in a tricky spot. When you get attacked is not the time you want to be building units. You want to have units beforehand. He's going for drama. Auro is going for drama next, which I do find interesting. That will be useful in his capital, and it will give him a free settler. So he might not even need to build another settler anytime soon, since he has 3 sites and 2 settlers that are possible. I love this note from Auro. We have an explanation point in the woods saying, look here. Mojo is playing conservative. He's worried about the tactician. Both players are tacticians. Mojo is aware they're swift and fierce on his opponent. We have Heckler. Wow, that's nice. We have Heckler, Highlander, and Educated. So, combat-wise, there's more advantage to Mojo in this situation currently. However, with tacticians, it's kind of whoever blinks first will lose the fight. Ooh, oh, wow, this is very interesting. I might take this. And as a state in the capital. I'm already, wow, we're rushing that. That makes sense. We are Carthage, so we can afford it. We're going to get an early Zorro. I honestly might take the estate here. That's just going to zoom up our culture so fast. I know I'm working on a slinger, but I'll have my other cities build that military unit. I'll take the free estate. I'll take the culture. Probably rush this thing out too, just so it doesn't take a million years. And then just relegate this to an urban development center. No problem with that. You don't need to have every single city be able to build a unit. And then let's check our wonders. Heliopolis, Circus Maximus, Museum, Mausoleum, all good. No pyramids. Ziggurat's good. Ishtar, Arpadana are all good, but they don't really, not in a map of this size. Yeah, so there are some options. Chthon and Lighthouse and Colossus. Colossus is really good because the civics production is for any connected city. This wonder has very little to do with the actual coast. It just needs the coast. But 1 level for new units and 2 civics for every city is just awesome. So I actually love this wonder. And if I'm on a map like this, I would absolutely take the opportunity to put that on the map. Mojo is waiting for a reinforcement unit. I suspect he's just hanging out in these woods. Fortunately, with the size, he's not going to lose too much by doing that. There is momentum on Carthage, clearing-wise, but the total number of cities is going to be so small that he's not really losing too much. He's going directly for officers. Love this. It's a little greedy. You know, I'd love to see a military unit up here first, but he has great civic production. What did he put in here? We have a 5.8 equestrian diplomat. So strong opinions as well. And yeah, no, that's a 3-turn officer. He'll probably do another officer. Yeah, the barracks will be done in 3 turns, so he can literally just go officer into officer, although his gross won't be ready. So I'll be curious if he does a festival or decides to build a military unit. And then he'll have some solid training production in this capital. So that's really nice. I like that, economically speaking, anyway. All right, eyes on the center from Mojo, and I think I'll be really curious if Auro decides to make the play here and clear the site, because this is all woods. You do not know where your opponent's tactician is. Of course, Mojo did watch this tactician come here, so let's see Sorry, Auro did. Let's see if he still has that note. It seems like it went away. But yeah, as long as he keeps eyes on this location, he has a sense of the tactician being on this side of the map. So maybe he does go for the central site. Have another settler coming up in the capital. It seems as if we're letting this slinger hang. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rush there. And did we go for the estate? No, we did not opt to go for this estate in Carthago. See, this is what's interesting. Going back to the concept of adjacencies, right? At one point, we built a quarry down here. And then we decided to come all the way up here and build a quarry. And one of the reasons why I don't like to do this is, look at this. This is 3 orders. So we spent, rather than just going 1, 2, and spending 2 orders to build a quarry right next door, we spent 3 orders to come over here and build a quarry. And then what's going to happen is at some point, I suspect this builder is going to build a quarry here, and then over here, and then over here anyway, right? So I feel like that's one of the tricky things about optimizing your play, where a player thinks, you know, this is the best spot for a quarry. This is the best spot for a quarry. So I'm going to come down here and I'll do this first. And then I'll go over here and I'll do this next. And then I'll go over here and I'll do this one because that's the least worst. But you're actually wasting orders by doing that. If you just start in one spot and then quarry along the way to different locations, you're still going to increase your economy and you're not going to burn orders for no reason. That's something to think about if you're watching this and looking for tips on how to up your order economy. We have champions down here. So we have champions, patrons, and hunters for the Assyrians. Very strong, powerful combo. Love it. Opting not for clerics. I don't hate that decision. And on the Carthage side, we know we're going to be bringing in traders for the third family. So going to have a little bit of a training and military edge onto Assyria. Having access to 2 military families is always fantastic, especially in this head-to-head format. And we're opting for ironworking now. So we got rhetoric, and did we adopt our law already? We adopted epics. Interesting. I kind of really dislike that. I dislike deviating to get rhetoric and epics, and I think that's going to be a consequence of perhaps not us understanding the fact that there's not going to be a lot of stuff to kill on this map. Certainly not tribes, anyway. Of course, you'll be able to kill your opponent. But that's not the best early grab, I don't think. And we have yet to secure drama here. We're going for another settler here. Interesting. 9-turn settlers. Not really sure I like that. We're going for 2 more settlers. And yep, Auro realizing that there are, in fact, no tribes on the map. Sad Carthage noises, indeed. That's fun. 2 turns from drama. So by the number of settlers that we're building, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I guess the free settler would come in handy if he clears this site and opts to settle it. But I probably wouldn't be spending 9 turns building a settler if I have the free settler that's going to be entering in the deck at some point. All right, so we're getting our slingers up and running here. Really just pausing, really playing safe around the potential threat of another tactician. It is unfortunate, but I do understand that play there. You really will be in a lot of trouble, especially with Carthage, since they have the ability to acquire units by purchasing them. One tactician stun against your only main unit being followed up by several tribal units could end the game pretty early. Of course, attempting to do that as Carthage would just destroy your order economy, so it's good that Auro's not attempting to do that. But I understand trying to be worried about the risk here. The question of tribes. Yeah, just to go over it again for the viewers joining in the channel now. This is a dual map. It is wide. Coastal rain basin, but they have medium city site density on, which which creates less city sites on the map. That was a mistake. However, the players discussed it at the start of the game, whether they should recreate it, and both players decided that they don't mind that it was on. But one of the issues that creates is that the last thing that gets populated in a map when it's generated is the tribes. So it starts with player positioning. So if you have AI in the game and they have AI development, they'll get their developed cities. You'll get your free site. And then for the players with no development, you'll get your barbarian sites. And then after the barbarian sites, the rest of the sites get distributed to tribes. But in this particular map, there are only 4 city sites on each side of the map and 2 in the center, creating 10 city sites total. So between the starting site and the central and the free site, that's 2 sites for each player. 3 barbarian sites for each player is 6, and I think that filled us up, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 6 plus 4 is 10, and there we go. Of course, not all is lost for Carthage. It's still handy to have the ability to clear. Oh, we're going deep with this settler. That's interesting. That's certainly risky, but he does have the vision knowing he can get away with it. This site is not cleared yet, so definitely no issue there. Sometimes I think you can put yourself at huge risk by driving deep with your settler. So we'll see if that pays off in the long run. 2 turns to this settler. This one is going to be artisans. All right. And no... Oh, we have our first attack on a slinger. Sorry, on a scout. Tactician has spotted the scout. Mojo scout in the hills, and it is stunned. So this scout will be going down. This will be first blood of the match on turn 18. Once it comes back to, or 17, whichever. I don't remember who's up first player. But yeah, on Auro's next turn, this scout should be dead, and Mojo will be dealing with a lack of vision on a map with a tactician. Fortunately, he knows that his opponent's tactician is right here. He is coming up and making effort to clear this site finally, now that he has the protection of this militia. A bit of a delay there. He's opting for 2 slingers. Makes sense because he's waiting for that growth to come online. And there's going to be some really nice synergy here. 4 turns on a slinger and 4 turns on your next citizen. So you can build a slinger, and then go right into building another officer, and then go right back to building slingers. I kind of like that cascading efficiency there. Building a settler up top. And 1 more turn on ironworking. And we have our first blood. The scout has been killed. Lots of notes. Scout was here. I love it. I love it. Okay, we have orders, guys, family. This is great. Oh, so he's debating if he wants to bring in traders now, I think. Sorry, not traders, statesmen. That actually might make sense. Maybe do 2 statesmen instead for the extra orders. It really just depends on if you're going to bother taking the effort to consume these city sites. The elder specialist in the trader seat can be worth it on its own, but I'm not 100% sure it would be more worth it than an extra 400 civics and 2 or more orders. All right. Okay. Going to clear the unit first. Don't really like this, but whatever. We have another slinger coming up. He has time, so I guess it doesn't matter. He doesn't need to clear this site right away. It's not going to spawn a new unit, and he doesn't even have a settler yet, so I guess it's no big deal. Yeah, just kill the unit. I'm just so used to targeting camps first, no matter what, but that, yeah, it doesn't matter in this case. We're opting for labor force as Assyria, so I'm thinking a very early 4 law push. Interesting choice of having no clerics in that situation. Clerics can speed that up, but you definitely don't need it. You can just get labor force, navigation, aristocracy, rhetoric, and then boom, you're at 4 laws. So no issue there. Rams would certainly be very useful on this map. All the woods, rams in the forest is just god-awful to deal with, even though they're more urban-centric. They're just so much harder to kill when they're in the woods because ranged units will just do nothing to them. And the other good thing is, since this map is so close and cramped, you just build a few roads, and your rams really won't be too slow. A bit unfortunate that we're dealing with a desert right here. You kind of have to gonna build this road up and then down. Or you could build it across, I suppose. I forget that there's a pass here. Yeah, one road coming out this way, and then, yeah, you can just build this road directly across the map this way, and just lob rams into your opponent's side of the map for the rest of the game. That'll be fun. Be curious to see if Carthage decides to bring in chariots in response. We're building, this blows my mind. We're building another settler for 9 turns when we have free settler in the draw pile. That is not taking advantage of the fact that you just grabbed drama early, in my opinion. I feel like that's a misplay because we're running out of sites. We already have one more settler coming up. This one's settled. Yeah, so 2 settlers for this spot. Really just, I mean, I know it's science, so I guess you save yourself the science of, 60 science of grabbing this. But you're making the decision between 60 science or 10 turns, because this was already 10 turns, right? 10 turns worth of build queue. I think I would take the 10 turns worth of build queue over the 60 science. So, not really a fan of that, but, whatever. Can't win them all. Our spouse for Carthage is a builder equestrian cruel, but she is ill, so she could be dead soon. She gave us an heir, which is lovely. That's what we need. And on the Assyrian side, we have a fellow tactician. 1 influence will get this fella to pleased, which will boost all of these stats by 50%. And he's a bold tactician as well, which is quite nice for a general. All right. Carthage is out in the open. We'll see if he has the orders to move that guy. He does. He has 11 orders and plenty of time. Be curious if... Wow, Carthage is in range to go for a stun on a tactician. He could opt to aggress in this situation. He has the orders. He put himself in a vulnerable spot, going slinger to slinger against this commander. But if he was feeling cheeky, he could do that. Not sure that that's a correct play, but it might be something he's thinking about. These units would take 2 extra turns or so to join the conflict, as would this one. But in theory, he could aggress here. Probably not the thing you want to do, but I suspect he's thinking about it. 45 seconds left on the clock. Only 1 of his 12 orders has been spent to move that scout. All right, he's opting to clear. I think that's a smarter decision. Certainly the safer decision. And we have military drill coming online for Carthage. I like that. When you're up against an opponent who has a distinct advantage, such as early military drill, it always makes sense to kind of catch up to that quickly. Even that advantage out. Being up against someone who has barracks while you don't have barracks can be a momentum swing that you just don't want to deal with. Nice, and we have a crit here. The crit gods are being kind. And now what we really want to see here is, yes, excellent. Even though Mojo didn't need to kill anything, he put this militia on the site to hold it, because you really don't want to deal with cheeky scout bullshit. Even though we have a tactician and you could kill the scout, you're facing a rider's nation, so they have a second one, and that's just dumb, wasting time killing something that you don't need to kill. culture level up event. Ooh, nice. And we got 130 stone from an event. Very nice. Always nice to get that early econ boost. And we're building warrior. I really like this military buildup from Assyria already. And that's one thing I like about going double barracks right away. That makes your starting city plus 40% training. And he already put an officer there, which is another 2 training. So if we make a comparison here, we have 14 training in the capital and 15 training in the champ seat. So you effectively are able to start yourself with a second champ seat as Assyria pretty efficiently if you just jump right into building yourself some barracks. So I really appreciate that from Mojo. Military capitals can be a little hit or miss sometimes, but I don't mind them. I tend to preference econ, but they definitely work. Military capitals definitely work, especially now that it's very easier to put governors in any city you want. I'm a big fan of the early force march to settle cities, so I'd like to see a force march here to just get this city out where we need to go. We have the orders, and here we are. Wonderful. Love to see it. This is the type of stuff that I want to see. Probably artisans here would be my guess. Oh, another statesman. All right, we're going for those extra orders. That's fine. Don't really need to put artisans in the woods. It's just always lovely to have it if you have the option. We'll get a nice... Oh, no, we already did our border boost. So, yeah, so this is one of the things I was talking about of opening aristocracy. Our time for border boost has passed. If this city was settled, we'd get a really nice one, but we just lose that opportunity as Carthage, which is fine, because they don't need more advantages anyway. All right, so we have 6... In total, we will have 6 city sites to Auro and 4 for Mojo. So Mojo is going to have to fight his way out of his side of the map. Currently, 24 science to 23 science. Carthage has taken a 1-point science lead. Let's look at overall economy right now. 20 turns in the game. Assyria is much wealthier than Carthage, so that's interesting to see. Carthage has 2 more specialists. Mojo built 1 more worker. Mojo built 2 more military units. Both have 1 law. Mojo has researched 4 technology, so he has a slight lead there. And 10 improvements on Mojo to 9 improvements on Carthage. So Mojo is keeping pace with a slight lead on his development. Not too bad. That will hopefully make up for his falling behind in expansion. Mojo is hidden in these woods and now realizing he is boxed in. I don't believe he's aware of this. He's not yet aware of this northern valley, but he will be shortly. Going for a trapper up here. All right, that's a decent border boost and some good growth. The other nice thing about a patron's capital is that you get really strong civics output early. So what would normally take 8 turns is only being done in 4 turns, in addition to having this really nice governor lined up. 5.8 civics to start the game is pretty awesome. That's a good get. Not getting your 4th city until your opponent has 6 cities, though, certainly sucks. So hopefully Mojo will be able to catch up and overwhelm his opponent. This could be one of those games that come down to military aggression being the most crucial element. In fact, we have a question in chat. Does Assyria have a chance so far behind on cities, or do they need to go for hyper-aggression immediately? Yes, so that can come down to 2 things. A, overall experience. You could have a player who's just so efficient at economic development that they're going to surpass a player with more cities. I would say it depends on how wide the gap is, but I think 6 to 4 is certainly manageable for a very efficient economic player. Certainly. But then, of course, yes, the other way to resolve this issue is just with early aggression. If we have, so we are building a slinger here, but if, you know, if your opponent is greedy, you know, we are Carthage and we did buy tribes, so we're safer here. But the first 3 or 4 builds from Carthage were all settlers, and that's greed. When we look on the other side of the map, we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 military units. So 3 of Mojo's builds already have been military units, compared to only this one slinger that is still not even finished yet. Let's take one more look at that just in case. Yeah, Mojo has built 3 military units to Carthage's 0. Now, again, Carthage is protected currently by 4 tribal units, so that's certainly not nothing. You can afford to be greedy as Carthage. That's one of the advantages to that faction. But yes, if you find yourself a little bit overwhelmed in expansion, one way you can counter that is through early aggression, because what that means, you know what that means, basically. You know that by your opponent having 6 cities now, while you're still working on a settler, or one that just came out, right? You know that that means they spent all that build time building settlers. Which means, as a consequence, you can be confident that they don't have regular military units. With Carthage, you're expecting to see tribals, but it's all an aspect of predicting your opponent, and also understanding the game enough such that you know what they're capable of. Expanding to 6 cities in 22 turns is no easy feat. It's certainly doable, but odds are you don't have a massive army if you did that. So if you are a champs nation, or you started as Assyria with a couple of barracks, you can have 6 military units in the time that your opponent took 6 cities, and they probably don't have anything to defend these exterior cities. So that's one of the things that I was saying earlier when Carthage came to a settler to hyperextend here. That's the risk you can open yourself up to. And again, Carthage is a bit unique. They have the ability to defend themselves here, but whoa, it's risky. And this is this is fun. So we have some aggression here. We have I believe this was just forced marched. We have some Carthage tribal harass. This is going to force Mojo to react somehow. He might just hang out. He might just hang out and see if this tactician slips out into the open. Could be very interesting to see. Bring up the warrior as a bait. But yeah, blocking that city site is certainly a setback. So Mojo probably will have to react here, but the thing that sucks is that, again, puts this tactician in range. Playing around a tactician early really sucks. Even if you have your own tactician. Auro, I love the aggression here. Again, I'm under the impression he's relatively new to the multiplayer arena, but he played very well against Ninja. His morale stuck out to the very end. His opponent had a massive lead. Ninja pressured Auro 2 or 3 times within the match with military assault, and every time as an audience member, as a viewer, I watched that entire game, 7-hour marathon session live. I caught all of it live. It was a real treat. And yeah, there were multiple times in that match where everybody was assuming Auro was out of the game, and he just stuck through it. So it's nice to see a little bit of a change of pace here, where he's now the aggressor and the momentum appears to be on his side. And it will be interesting to see what he does with it. It will be interesting to see how he presses his clear advantage, because he did scout this. Let's take a look at the map. Auro has the concept of what he's dealing with in terms of the whole map size, and Mojo does as well. So it's going to come down to how well Mojo does in a kill box, really. Again, I'm not familiar with his play. I know he is a strong and experienced player, but even the most experienced players have preferences and play styles, and not every player does well in a tight, cramped spot. Some players excel in this type of situation more than others, and we'll have to see how Mojo adapts to the pressure. All right, it's Mojo's reply. Let's see. Oh, sorry, it's Carthage's turn. So Mojo did move up a warrior here and promoted. What do we have for promotion? Warden. All right, so he can pressure with just his warrior. He's probably going to want to do that while keeping his units hidden. Because again, whoever attacks first on this tactician is really going to win the conflict. So I really like this concept of just kind of lying in wait. He has another tactician, well, regular tactician, but another slinger hidden in these woods. So he's got good coverage here. This unit is retreating. Oh, and he's retreating his scout as well. He's not going to bother. So, all right, cool. He's not going to risk giving up the vision. I respect that. All you do is delay the city by 1 turn, but 1 turn's enough. You save your scout, tuck it back into the woods, and keep your vision. I like it. Good job, Auro. Nice tactics so far. Coming up with a second slinger already. He's going to need that. And we have another settler. Yeah, so we swapped out of this settler because we don't need it. So he did spot. We just got the free settler tech card. So he did catch that he no longer needed to build that last settler. What I'd like to see here is him deleting this from the build queue because that will get him 100 food back. No sense in having that settler hang around indefinitely. Auto orders on Auro, so we'll get 2 cities next turn. And back to Carthage. Let's see what the reply is. Probably just a swift settle here. And hunters or champions? What do we think it's going to be? Probably hunters. We have a camp here, and hunters I actually think is the better defensive family. All right, so turn 24, we have our 4th and final city. Oh, wow, we're going patrons. All right, this I dislike, and the reason why I dislike this is because you're probably grabbing patrons for the precious, which does make sense in concept, but tactically, this seems like a poor decision. You want to put hunters or champions up here, but I mean, civic income is important. And I know civic income is important to Mojo. So this will help with that. That's an extra 10 civics per turn. 2 more civics on top of the normal amount that you'd get. So who knows? Maybe he's feeling that he has a good read on his opponent right now. This is over-expansion. Potential over-expansion right here. Let's take a look at the armies in the region. 3 tribals and 1 slinger versus 3 slingers and 1 warrior. Mojo wins this fight. In fact, I'm pretty sure Mojo wins this fight even if Carthage gets the stun off first. So this is the type of thing that I'm talking about when the question was asked about rapid expansion and how do you overcome it. You overcome it with aggression. Again, just to reiterate the point, you can expand to 6 cities in 20 turns and also have an army. So if your opponent is close enough to you, and you've built an army, and this 4 units comparatively is an army, then once your opponent is on your border with their nice, fresh, expanded city, you can, in theory, just take it from them if they don't have a means to defend it. And I really don't think 3 tribals and a slinger is enough to defend this city. We do have 1 more slinger that can come up. We are swift, so it will take a couple turns together. But again, that's going to be 2 regular slingers. We have all of these forests here. This is set telling me, and we do actually even have a forest directly next to the city, so you can put your warrior here, and you can come up with your slingers, and you're going to be fighting from the woods against people who are not in the woods. So, I'm expecting aggression from Mojo here. He's going to say, thank you for building me the city, and, go back and mind your own business. We are getting steel on Carthage, Assyria as well. So that is strong aggression while our Carthage friend is opting to get Polis. What are our options? We have Administration, composite bow, and architecture. Honestly, don't really like the options here. Composite bow is a good grab, but it would take forever to unlock it, so I can kind of understand here. But what would be next? What's next? Maybe he's thinking ironworking, or... I mean, I guess he would only want ironworking. Yeah. Early composite bow certainly would be helpful. We have a pin. Look here. I love these. I love the way he's phrasing it. Just look here. Slingers in here with general. Yes, correct. And we are getting our first upgrade. So this could help. These regular tribal units. This is an elite skirmisher. So yeah, all right. So they're 4 strength units. So we are comparable in strength here. This is a comparable force. We do have... How many champions units do we have, though? Is the question. 1, 2. So that's going to be the other issue. We have 2 champions units against 3 tribal units in the region. Though, still net advantage to Mojo here for this conflict. And he's moving up. Carthage did see that. I would probably just come in here for the stun, to be honest. Because, yes, you'll likely get stunned in return. But if you can do it in a way where your opponent is forced into the woods, then this warrior can do some damage. Although he's in no rush, because these barbarian units cannot go to strength 6. They are capped off at strength 4. So, no real issue. No real time pressure on Mojo. Sometimes you can be on a little bit of a time crunch. You don't want Carthage to get a bunch of 6 strength units before you're ready to take stuff from them. So things are already heating up here. Only 1 hour into the match. Expansion phase is over. All cities on the map are settled. And we have brewing conflict right in the center. Let's take a look at that power graph just to be sure. Carthage is actually stronger currently. But again, the bulk of this 4 or 5 of these units are tribal units. So when you're facing a champ nation, that's really not great. I love this right here. This is what's striking me as a clear and obvious bait. And we're coming up from the back line with that slinger. I would like to see another unit coming up. I hate the building of Hunt here. This feels unnecessary when you're sitting on 2,000 gold. I love Hunt as a project. Very, very useful. But it just doesn't feel like the time to build it. You need more military. I would be building... Honestly, I would probably be building a warrior and a slinger in every single city I have right now. We have one more, and I would just fill all these build queues with slingers right now. I wouldn't even build a worker just yet. My priority would be killing this tribal advantage and kicking back some of these cities for now. Securing the center and making sure that Carthage can't pressure the map as hard as he currently is. Especially if I have confidence that I'm a strong player, and I would like to think Mojo probably does, so I might feel that I can catch up. Interesting, a master officer. I personally don't like upgrading my... I don't like grabbing the higher levels of officers, personally. It feels like a waste of build time. I'll rush them out if I have a judge, but I'm not going to spend 4 or more years on a build queue for that, but... to each their own, I suppose. And this is the type of stuff that we're talking about. All right, Mojo's going to take a 1-minute break. So this is the type of stuff that we're talking about. A question, going back to that question in chat, how do you punish this rapid expansion? Well, you punish it by exploiting greed. So the first issue of this rapid expansion is that we know our opponent spent 20 turns building settlers. The second issue that's happening now, after the fact, while Auro can see this aggressive posturing, he knows that there's a general and a scout in these woods, is look at his build queues. Every single city is building a worker except one. He did build a slinger already. It hasn't moved up yet. But this is, in my opinion, too greedy. Because your opponent, he doesn't know this, but your opponent could be building even more slingers and stuff. So... I think the most difficult thing about this game is that the best duels that remain even between each player aren't the duels where you zoom ahead in science, or you zoom ahead by having more units on the map, or you zoom ahead by having more cities on the map. It's games where players keep a pace with each other because any one of those things can be countered by something else. If you spend all your time building specialists and ramping up your science and playing heavy econ and greed, you could run into the same issue where in that entire time frame, your opponent has just been building military units. And we've seen this in the last match. That's how Auro beat his opponent. His opponent had a clear tech advantage, which admittedly he didn't exploit, and that was a blunder on his own part. But Auro's economy was so great, and his unit production was so strong that even though his more advanced opponent could kill 3 or 4 units per turn, every 1 kill or 2 kills that Auro could take were worth more because the economic advantage was huge in one department. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's interesting the interplay of like trying to keep a pace with your opponent. You want to make sure your military is the same. You want to make sure that your science is the same or better. But I feel like if you spend all of the first 30 turns building military, well then maybe you fall behind in science. And as long as your opponent knows how to exploit that, then that could be a problem. But if they don't know how to exploit that, then the reverse can be true. Your larger army can be a problem. So it's just very interesting to watch these games play out. All right, further aggressive posturing from Mojo. We'll see. I'll be really curious. I think maybe the idea here now would just be to come up and start attacking maybe with his warrior, although you just get stunned, I suppose. The real goal would be to draw out that tactician. A tactician inside of a city center certainly sucks. We're coming up with this slinger now. We get another upgraded barbarian that likely will be making its way down. And this is what I don't like. I don't like that there's aggressive posturing here without more reinforcements already on the way. You want to be building your armies. You want to be having access to your reinforcements when the fight breaks out, not after the fight breaks out. We have another promotion here. Really like the way Mojo consistently promotes his unit. Ooh, we have Marksman and Eagle Eye on here. It is the Tactician Stunner as well. That's great. We have Ranger, which is fantastic. Nice. Oh, and we can get our 3rd crit. Oh, man, so great. And we'll be able to get that next turn as well. Oh, no, we're promoting again, and that's fine, too. We have Warden. We have Warden on a couple of these guys, too. So, yeah, strong promotions here. And that's the other issue that you're going to be running into as Carthage with the fact that all of your units are tribal units. You can't promote them. So this unit, interestingly enough, this army is just sitting on your border, even though Carthage can only see 1 unit. But this army is sitting on his border, gradually gaining strength, and there's really not much that Carthage can do about it. I'll be really curious to see how this conflict pans out. Going for another slinger. This is good. Like to see that. We already have a barracks coming up in the capital and a second barracks coming up like that. So both barracks will be online next turn for Carthage. That's nice to catch up in that momentum. We do have judges as well and decent enough income where we can rush those officers immediately. Unfortunately, we'll either have to pay the price of science or training to do it. That can suck. And no movements on the front lines yet from Carthage. Probably he's just going to take his time consolidating these military units up to the city. In 2 more turns, we'll have another slinger in the region. So in just a couple of turns, the momentum is in this potential conflict is going to swing in the favor of Carthage. We will have 3 slingers in the region and 4 tribal units to just 4 units for Carthage. Assyria, 2 of which will be champion units, and I'm not sure even champions can make up that deficit. But, of course, we'll certainly see. Zoro Disciple already. We have found a Zoro. This probably came from an event. Yep, and we're coming right up here. I really like the use of these forests that the players have been using, just kind of tucking a slinger away, hidden. No sense having it out in the open if you don't have to. Let's take a look at that military graph one more time. Yeah, Carthage has continued to gain a slight advantage there. Most of it is tribal, but again, a big part of this fight will be happening in the woods, which is not ideal for either player's unit composition, since each one only has one melee unit. Excuse me. 3 turns on steel. Alright, we're going in for a conflict. This warrior should be dead. Yep. Not the warrior, but the marauder. So we're going to be down a unit, and that's an instant kill, keeping this slinger in the woods. One of these will probably get stunned, but it will take some time for the units to kill it. And all right, so I think the momentum is going to remain strong on Assyria's side here. This slinger won't show up in time, so if you would basically just have to wait it out. Maybe you go for the stun for sure. But if any of these units... We have another level here. Oh, we're going for Besieger. That's great. So we can hop onto this hill. This is a hill tile here. And we'll be able to hit the city for 2 damage all the way over here. That's just solid. Auro is now catching the fact that he has lost his tribal unit and he's under pressure. I like this. I like this aggression from Mojo. I think my only concern here is I would have liked to see at least one more military unit coming from one of these backline cities. It would have been finished by now if we weren't doing Hunt or a worker. So, yeah. Just a little bit of extra reinforcement on the way already would be nice to see. But so far, I dig it. I really like this aggressive play because this is the exact response that you'd want in a situation against an opponent who hyper-expanded, who over-expanded. Especially since that player is going to be in the same position that you are. We have a rushed slinger, bold, but I dig it. That's a nice reaction here. It's always a waste to rush these early units, but this signals to me that Auro is really willing to dig deep and fight over this location. That could work out to Mojo's benefit if he keeps doing well, but also he just got Carthage to burn some civics. Always a lovely thing because they get so many stupid extra civics all the time. So even that alone is a nice result of this early aggression, especially if you can pull back and not lose too many units off of it in the event that you're not able to take the city. Having Warden on both of these units is really solid. It's going to take a little bit of time to kill one of them. I'll be curious if he bothers to reveal these tribals. I really don't think you want to do that. What would be better would be to wait for your reinforcements and position these tribals in a way such that once they do reveal themselves, they zone of control lock everything away from retreating. So you could put this guy, for example, on this tile, move these guys up, and then once you're ready to go in for the actual attack, you put this guy right here, do an attack, you put someone right here, do an attack, and then no one will be able to move and retreat in these areas. And it does look like Auro is not just yet ready to attack. That is the play. You don't want to reveal these tribal units too early, especially while you have a warrior in the field. Honestly, I think the correct play for Auro there would have been to stun the warrior. The warrior is going to be the only unit that does a massive amount of damage in these woods. So a bit of a slight misplay there, I think, by targeting the slinger for the stun instead of the warrior. I definitely think this is wrong. Bold move from Mojo, but you don't know how many units are in these woods. You know that Carthage can hire ranged units at the start of the game. You know he's a tactician. But this will bait your enemy tactician out if he decides to go for the stun on you. And this is a massive amount of damage on this city, so maybe it works out. We will have a second slinger coming on the line, in addition to this one in the reinforcement, and this one also along the way. So this is a tricky situation, I think, for both players. Exciting, exciting watch. Just an hour and a half into this match. And it's anybody's game right now. I feel like it's entirely possible that Mojo can win this conflict, and it's entirely possible that Mojo could lose this conflict. Another one of the reasons why I would like to be seeing a military unit. I would like to have already been seeing units reinforced. We're going for a worker up here. I just feel like this is not enough units to be going into Carthage, especially when you know that they have the civics production to rush on command. He settled artisans in the cap. Mojo should be aware of that. So they're definitely developed by turn 28, and Carthage has all the civics in the world to crap out an army if they need it. So essentially what that means is by the time you show your hand on an opponent, if your opponent is reacting well, which Auro did, they can start rushing out slingers. And we've seen that in other games before, early aggression prompting quick military reaction. And then the defender is able to beat back their opponent. This is going to be devastating if all these tribals lock these units into zone of control. I am terrified for Mojo right now. Because that's the other thing with the zone of control lock. All right, so we have a stun on the tactician. I suspect Mojo was banking on this. Suspect he was thinking he would be able... Oh, he's not going to be able to kill that next turn. Tricky, tricky, tricky. This could be a definitive conflict. Mojo losing every unit in this battle could be a decisive blow. I'd really like to see the targeting of the warrior here from Auro, because that's the most dangerous unit, I think. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but we are targeting the warrior. Can we kill the warrior? I think we can. 3, 3, 3. Yep, that warrior's dead. And we are... Oh my god, this is devastating. This is devastating for Mojo. Only one unit can escape. This unit up... We've killed a warrior. The tactician, ruler, slinger, well promoted, I might add. Very well promoted. Marksman, eagle eye, and besieger is stunned on this hill. And this warden slinger is trapped by zone of control. This is a devastating tactical defeat for Mojo. Really need to see units be changing in these build queues next turn, if not currently. No mercy. No mercy, says Mojo. Yes, he's feeling it. You have to retreat the scout. You have to in fact, your entire turn might have to be getting this slinger out of there, or maybe you just suicide it. Give Auro something to do with his time before pressing in. We can get another slinger in 4 turns. All right, we're up in the woods. Oh, right, yeah, we can jump into the woods. Great, so we're safe there. All right, so that slinger will survive, but everything else of Mojo on this early assault is dead. Brilliant, brilliant ambush from the forest, from the Carthaginian tribal units and their tactician overlord. Love to see it. We are 1 turn away from steal here, so Mojo is not out of the game yet, but this is a devastating blow. And of course, morale is always a factor. Let's take a look at the power here. Yep. Assyria is now weaker than Carthage. Warrior coming up, warrior coming up. Yep, 4-turn warriors will probably upgrade into axes. Makes sense. Really not liking this worker up top still, but I guess we're committed to that. A ruthless match so far. Back over to Carthage. And he should be able to clean this up quite nicely. Just keep stunning the tactician. And this unit. Yeah, this unit should be dead this turn. That's... Yep, so another kill this turn. And another stun unit. And he can take his time killing the tactician ruler. So that essentially sums up the first battle of this match. Victory for Carthage. Good tactics from Auro. A little bit military momentum here, though. Tech-wise, though, we're just getting iron working while our opponent does have access to axes next turn. So it's still possible that Mojo could turn that into an advantage, but nothing sucks more than losing all of the units that you opened with. That is one of the risks of early aggressions. One of the reasons why, if you're going to commit to early aggression, you want to commit to it with your build queues as well. Building workers or projects while you're trying to advance into a central territory can not work out in your favor. Brutal. Alright, so we have a couple turns on our workers. Worked out for Carthage. Still building a settler. He really needs to just delete this from the queue. It's not going to amount to anything. Oh, and we get a free axeman from an event. Good on Carthage. Lucky man. Very likely a mercenary, it looks like it. And now that makes Assyria much weaker. Be curious to see if Auro goes in for the kill here or if he decides to play it safe. I think that you would have enough to finish off of this, but our players have been playing conservatively, and experienced players can sometimes play conservatively. If you're winning, there's no real rush to end the game anytime too soon. Of course, you could... Wow, this swift movement, though. Man, you can go right in for the kill. Carthage does have vision here as well. He can just do a quick loop with this scout to see what Assyria is working with, and he could just opt to end it or maybe take another city. Indeed, very, very difficult to attack into a tactician. They can comfortably sit inside the city queue and automatically city center and automatically guarantee that you'll be working with one man down. Even if you're assaulting with your own tactician, still a very, very tricky proposition. Interesting road. Oh, we're probably going for a connection. All right. I can get... I understand that, I guess. Navigation. That will be 3 laws for Mojo. If Mojo can hang on enough to get 4 laws, rams would definitely be enough to do a huge dent in an all-range composition. Especially in the woods once your opponent tactician dies. Oh, and it looks like we have a new ruler. So, in fact, we are at that point already. Yep, the horse, our beloved horse ruler, has died. And we have a 17-year-old on the throne with a diplomat, 1-turn regent. Nice, we can get a new worker or some training or culture. Great, always love the secession events. And a whole bunch of food if we want it as well. Pretty solid. Looks like he went for the culture. Cool, I dig that. Culture and a citizen. That allows him to start building an officer right away. Why not? Oh, and he's building a miner. Oh, okay, well. Income is a thing, I suppose. And we're going for monasticism. I hate this. I gotta be honest with you. We have forestry, we have steel, we have composite bow. So, honestly, this is the greed play here. This is the long-term greed play. In this situation, I think you're playing the game too long. You're definitely nice to get these types of boosts for stronger science, but you have an advantage here that you could press. Although, I guess our science does suck, huh? 23. Mojo has an advantage already. 30 science to 23. Probably losing our tactician didn't help. The Carthaginian tactician. But yeah, not really a big fan of monasticism in this current moment. Fortunately, it will take another turn to kill this thing, so Mojo still has more time. Oh no, it will die this turn. Alright. Little bit of competitive banter back and forth. Mojo secretly taunting Auro. Always one of the fun things you can do if your opponent can't have any confidence of where your army is due to being a tactician. Yep. We did get a kill on that slinger. I did the math on that wrong. I didn't account for this other commander slinger right there. Alright, back to Mojo. 2 turns on our warriors to soon turn axemen. Definitely need that. And another 1 turn on the slinger and another 4. Nice. See, thankfully, we swapped out of that worker. We really needed to do that. So one of the risks of going greed, going back to Carthage pick on monasticism, we have axes coming online for Assyria who has decent military production. We have navigation, and we're closer to 4 laws on our opponent. Assyria has 2 laws, Carthage only has 1. So the concern I have with a play like monasticism is going back to the initial question of how does Mojo actually win this? Well, one of the ways, this is not me saying that this is the only way it works. I don't consider myself a multiplayer expert. I just know the game itself very well. I'm by no means a duelist expert, but one of the ways that Mojo could win this is military superiority. And he can get that by having better units, more units, and, well, stronger, his unique unit, right? So by making a long-term pick as Carthage into monasticism, this is 17 turns. Or less, because, you know, events can speed this up. All right, we're actually reassessing this. This is great. Okay, that's what we want. Yes, 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 yes. So just to finish that... Oh, come on. You're killing me here. Just to finish that thought process, though, that 17-turn monasticism would have been 17 turn. Actually, it would have been more, right? Because then both steel and composite bow would have went into the discard pile. So it would have been monasticism, and then one of these technologies, and then the luck of the shuffle, right? So we're looking at 25 to 30-ish turns before we see steel or composite bow finish. That is a very, very risky situation to put yourself in if your opponent is stuck in a situation where they kind of need to kill you before you get too far ahead. So you don't want to give them that opportunity to kill you. So I really like to see the swap to steel here. I'm not a huge fan of walls, but I actually don't hate this. This will make it harder to take the city. Assyria is going to shrug the walls off once they get their unique unit, but I mean, I kind of get this. Does buy you more time, I think. Does force them to actually need their siege to secure the city, so... But yeah, no, really happy with the switch to steel from Auro. All right, some decent development. Let's take a look at worker stats. Now we have, nope, that's specialists. We have 4 workers on Carthage to 2 on Mojo, so we're taking some momentum there. Makes sense. We do have the extra build queues. And, all right. Mojo with a free Maceman. Looks like so. Both opponents have gotten the mercenary event, but due to the fact that Mojo already had steel when that event fired, he got a Maceman. That's another way how that works. Basically, that mercenary axe or Maceman or warrior, whatever event, it's all basically the same event. It only fires once in the game, and it gives you essentially the next level unit that you can get, that you have access to. So if you get steel, you can get Maceman. If you don't have steel yet, you will get axes. So that's one of the reasons why Carthage got a free axe, even though they don't have steel. And now we have a very lucky Maceman on the field too, kind of evening that out. That will prevent, and there's no more tactician on the board, although our boy Carthage did go with a zealot, and enlist is always terrifying. Let's check out his training pool. 122 per turn, so that's pretty solid. But yeah, this Maceman is a really, really great get for Mojo. It's going to keep Carthage off of his back for a little bit, I think, because now Auro will see it. And it's nice, you know, it's always nice when the RNG is nice enough to give each opponent a decent amount of equal luck. Obviously, luck does play a factor in these games, and that's more than okay. I mean, I'm a board gamer, so I'm used to luck playing a factor in the game. I think, you know, an appropriate mix of strategy, skill, and luck is what makes games the most fun. But it's always nice when the RNG doesn't seem to favor one opponent too much. And so them both getting the free mercenary event is pretty solid here. And then we just have a lucky grab that it's a Maceman here. But that's solely a consequence of the fact that Assyria grabbed steel so early. So that's a way where both luck and strategy sort of can intersect in this type of game as well. 4 turns on navigation for Assyria. 6 turns on steel, so we will be catching up. We're not building warriors for any upgrades just yet. Would like to see that at some point. We are building plenty of mines, though, to get our metal online. That's always nice. Oh, and we also, I didn't call it out, but we do have a sandstorm on the Assyrian side of the map. This is one of my favorite calamities. I just think it's gorgeous looking. Very cool to see. Very nice. Nice quarry opportunity up here. And let's take a look at the pins we've got going on. Alright, so lumber mills, quarries, barracks. Yep, makes sense. More lumber mills, farms. Interesting farm location. I would just do stronghold garrison here, but whatever. Oh, and see, this is what I was talking about. So he already has, I brought this up, you know, about an hour ago, but he already has pins for quarries here. But he built this quarry and then sent his worker all the way over there to build that quarry, which wasted 3 orders. So just spend as few orders possible moving your workers around to improve tiles. It really helps pay out in the long run. All right, we have another barracks in the champion seat, so we're up to 17 training there compared to 15 in the cap. Pretty nice. And we're building barracks here. Like that he's really quick to get these barracks and garrison complexes up. That's going to help your orders out long term. Nice to get them out as quickly as possible. Easy to neglect them. That is one of the things that really came back to bite Ninja. In his game against Auro, he got a swift law lead, but never got his garrison timing correct. So it can be one of those things that you can forget where you get, oh, suddenly you have 4 laws and you realize I don't have any garrisons or I don't have any developing cities to build strongholds. So you need to keep that in mind. We're putting ourselves in a position where we're making good time to have both developing cities and strongholds when we get our 7 laws. Sorry, 4 laws. Forgive me. 7 laws will be a bit further away. And let's take a look at that science, actually, on that note. Still a decent lead for our Assyrian friend. This is the moment where the tactician died off for Carthage. So some of this is coming from the tactician advantage. About 6.4 is coming from the tactician leader. No wonders yet on the map. Let's take a look at orders actually for now too, just since I was talking about garrisons. Nice strong order advantage for Carthage. This does make sense. We have riders and Assyria does not, so that's an extra 2. And we have at least 2 statesmen cities. Yep, so that's another extra 2. So automatically Carthage is enjoying a 4 order boost. That's essentially free serfdom, just about. Another reason to get these garrisons online ASAP as Assyria. You want to make up that order deficit. We do have a current advantage. This will be getting changed next main update, which should be hitting relatively soon, either this week or next week. But for this game, until that main update hits, this lovely fellow will be invisible indefinitely. But next update, that will be switched to being a 5-turn timer before units get revealed if they lose the thing that was making them invisible. So that's nice. Really appreciate that change, because I think one of the nice tactical elements of this game is trying to deny vision to your opponent. So chopping woods or pushing scouts around is a key element of map control. So it was a little bit disappointing to have that potentially be on the way out. Nice to see some roading here. Definitely going to want that in general, but it's especially important for Assyria when one of their primary units, or their primary unique unit, is siege. Would like to see some connection here, right along these hills. Yep, going up for this next garrison. This barracks, rather. Really nice progress. I think we opted to build this without healing the worker, which I guess is fine. You lose the turn either way, so it doesn't really net you anything to heal it just yet. The main, Fluffy Bunny is kind enough to tell me that the main update is happening in 3 hours. So our new stealth mechanics for scouts will be live later today. Very cool. Very cool. Love to see it. That should make vision control more interesting in the tournament. Yeah, very, very happy with that change. Very disappointing to see the potential for scout invisibility to remain a permanent thing. So much appreciation to the Mohawk team for kind of backtracking on that a little bit. 4 turns to steal for Carthage, so we will be catching up there. We are right. Oh, all right. So this always catches me off guard when I'm spectating. I see this rush icon, and I'm like, no, why are you spending civics on a specialist? And then I realize, oh no, he did in fact slot the judge governor in there, so that does make sense. Nothing wrong with buying that. That's pretty much what you want to use a judge for. The walls are almost finished, so that's nice. I like that. Maybe that was the idea of grabbing Polis. That's another thing. I don't really know that I like spending the tech on it, but I mean, shit, now that you have them, use them, I guess. especially after winning that battle. One of the things that people will often debate about walls is like, well, why build a wall when you could just build another military unit? But since Auro was able to inflict such a tactical defeat here, he actually has some queue time he can spare. That's one way you can look at it. It is interesting to see that Auro chose not to aggress. Ultimately, worked out in the long run. This is actually a good example of one of the reasons why risk, well, can be risky, I suppose. No other way to phrase it. You could try to press in after a devastating defeat like that, and then suddenly your opponent could show up with a free maceman that came out of nowhere and start bashing your skull in with 12 damage. And this is 12 damage on a unit that has a commander on it. So, and of course, let's not forget that our tactician died along the way. So our tactician ruler died along the way. So this is one of the reasons I'm a risky enough player that I probably would have put myself in that position, to be totally honest. I would have been halfway to my enemy's border, and my tactician would have died, and a maceman would have showed up, and I would have been like, shit. But, you know, it's always hard to judge whether you should take an opportunity to press an advantage, or whether it's worth the risk of, you know, the different types of things that can happen in the game, such as ruler death or events. There was a sandstorm, too, that could have damaged all of Auro's units while he was in this quadrant trying to advance. So, all sorts of interesting elements. "13 training in the Artisan's Capped. No real movement from this disciple yet. Curious what's going to be going on there. You could get your unique wonder up and running. Not the unique, the religious wonder up and running right away. That's always a nice culture boost. Or you could just go for some spread. Really nice to have the vision of a tactician slinger in the woods, though. Especially considering the fact that Mojo did lose a scout. So nice to have the opportunity. I'd probably put this scout on this hill, to be honest, get some better vision. And it, at least until that patch goes live, it will be invisible indefinitely, so that's nice. Auro keeping an eye on Mojo's units. Love the double scouts in this region. I'd probably move one up closer towards the capital, or maybe try to find a hill over here to get some vision of both sites. But definitely nice to have 2 scouts in the region of your opponent. Mojo can basically see the entire map now, you know, all the way up until his opponent's territory. So these scouts are exactly where they should be. Yeah, or even maybe a hill back here. All right, 1 turn navigation to Assyria. That will help the order deficit. And we're going up with roads. I wonder if Mojo can spot that this is a desert, but I suspect he's going to go this way and then maybe this way. So just one long straight road. Love to see it. Love to see some early road building. Very important from a tactical perspective. Let's take a look at that power graph now that we have a maceman on the field. So yeah, look at this. Wow, nice. Really, really, he was down to 40. Jesus Christ. 40 when Carthage was at 330. But now he's back up to 260 to 370. So a huge burst of growth militarily from Assyria, while Carthage has just kind of been in a holding pattern. Which still, I mean, it does, all this time building workers and stuff, still it can translate to an advantage. Because like I said, he does, having gotten all those kills, he can spare the queue time. He knows he's not going to be under a threat after wiping his opponent so hard. So if you're not going to end the game militarily, then sure, just take the time to build up. Why not? Decent economy on Mojo, still strong income from his 4 discipline ruler. Everything in the positive, slight deficit, not deficit, but slightly above the red on food here. but still decent. Going for another officer in the capital. That'll bring us up to champ consistent levels. Why are we... Oh, we have a slothful... What's up with this? Oh, we have an ill. She's ill. I was wondering what was going on with that training there. Okay, well, hopefully he can get... Oh, no, we're not developing. It'd be nice to get some officers purchased before that guy dies, but she'll probably die. Would really like to see some clear chopping here. When you put stuff on camps, there's really no reason not to at least chop once, but I just full clear. That way you never have to step back on those tiles again. And it's a nice wood boost when you're setting up a camp. I chop a lot. I full clear a lot. I don't really care about keeping my woods around. I'd probably get a worker in this region and chop this entire forest down completely. No sense. There's literally no need in keeping it around. And being up against Assyria, I certainly don't want rams coming through these woods because, I mean, it's bad enough to attack anything in the woods, but rams have an extra 20 to 25 defense against ranged attacks, so rams in the woods are just a nightmare to deal with. And it's also a cool and interesting way to manipulate the battlefield, right? So, for that same reason that I was talking about the advantage of having, rams coming in here, by clearing all this territory, you would make a better battlefield for yourself. Yes, and we have strong culture on turn 37 for Carthago. That's pretty good pace, especially for an artisan's capital. You definitely want to, if you're trying to culture rush, you certainly want to hit strong in about 30 turns or so. So between 30 and 40 is definitely nice pacing. We're beating out the patron's capital, which is interesting considering the precious. We do have an opportunity to get this other precious up and running. Let's look at the culture rates. Only 5 culture in the patron capital compared to 20 culture in the Assyrian capital. Sorry, the Carthage capital. We have a lot of that coming from acolytes and some events. Public mural. We also have paganism. Oh, we have inspiring on the leader, and then of course the Shrine of Tenet. Yeah, nice cultural output. 100 turns till legendary. But you'd be surprised, between turn 37 and turn 80, you can bring that down quite a lot by investing more in culture. Do we have elephant access in the capital? No, he would need to do a colony play all the way out to here to grab elephants for his unique unit. And that's the only elephant on the map, so he can also import in one of these 2 cities. Okay. Where the rams can just be ramming all the time. I'm going to leave the camera right here for 1 second, and I'm just going to take one quick moment to fill up my water bottle. All right, we are back. Looks like we're 2 turns away from divination on Assyria. And we have our aristocracy targeted, so we're definitely going to see rams coming up soon. Our culture is 53 per turn, so we will certainly have the ability. How many laws do we have? We have 3 laws. So we have our serfdom. We will certainly have the ability to get the 4th law in the correct amount of time. And of course, as we can see here, we have developing culture, and our garrison. So our timing should be perfect here. We're making no culture, unfortunately. We do have 2 literature. So one thing I do, one of the reasons why I love patrons, I think patrons is a very underrated family, especially since we have 2 patrons here. Honestly, I do understand the luxury in the capital. Capital is important. Do we have the other luxury here? Yeah, no. It makes sense that you want to self-slot the luxury, but when I'm playing patrons, and this is a great example since we have exactly 4 cities, what I would do with both of these resources, put them in my military cities. And why is that? Because I want to make sure that my military cities can get to strong culture for my unique unit as quickly as possible. So the great thing about patrons is that champions, I'll use them as the best example, but champions and riders specifically, because over here we have, this net situation, this camp situation happening, I mean, with all of these culture camps. But there's no inherent way to generate any culture in your champ seat, right? So one very nice boost to the patron city is you just ship the luxury directly over your champ seat immediately. And I'll do this, I will do this immediately. If I settle champs as my capital and then patron second, I will immediately send my luxury to the champ seat. And we're going in. We're going in with a maceman. We're going in already for another attack. Love it. Love this aggression from Mojo. Let's take a look at that power scale real quick. Mojo's back to similar for sure. Yep, and he can spot that. He knows that he's on similar. We're still dealing with the fact that about 5 or 4 tribes, or barbarians rather, were purchased. What we really don't want to see happen, though, is have this maceman die and get enlisted. That would be devastating here. But we're getting upgraded to axemen. We're building more roads. Love to see it. So Mojo is pressing an advantage here. And what I like about this specifically is one of the big things we're always concerned about is science, right? But they're still neck and neck in science. So despite this investment in early aggression from Mojo to try and kind of break out of this trapped situation he's in, it's not really setting him back too much in terms of long-term investment. Even his economy is strong. Let's take a look over here at Carthage to compare Carthage's economy. Carthage's economy is slightly better, 25 resources per turn all around and good gold income, right? But Mojo isn't even that far behind. He has a little bit, he's at about 25 resources behind on food, but everything else is more or less similar to Carthage, and he has 4 less cities. But he also has this ability to aggress here. So this is really strong use of your advantage on Mojo's part. He's going to run into a little bit of a hiccup here with these walls, so it'll be nice to see if these actually pay themselves off. Oh, nice, and we have some fording up here by Carthage. Does Assyria even know that this is up here yet? Yes, okay, they do. All right. But yeah, really like leveraging this early maceman advantage, and yeah, chat says that will be a nightmare to deal with, and I agree. Where is our axe? Where is our Carthage axe? Did we just kill it? No, we killed it. Where the hell is our axe? I know Carthage has an axe. Oh, it's right here. Okay. So let's take a look at how much damage this mace can do to this axe. 12 damage to the axe, too. Oh my god. Woof. Yeah, this thing is gonna be an animal. Real big issue to deal with. Real big issue to deal with. Oh, man. Okay. Carthage doing labor force right now. But this goes back to what I was saying when they were going on monacism. Really glad for the labor force swap. The Maceman's still going to be an issue, but having access to Axeman right now, we have one coming up over here. We can upgrade this warrior. We need every little bit of extra damage, you know? So if we were still, like, 8 turns away from monasticism while this Maceman was coming in, would be so much more screwed, right? So really nice swap on Auro's part to realize that his weakness at this stage is military. Let's see how much Mojo intends to press the advantage of this mace. He will be confronted with the fact that his opponent chose to build walls in both cities. This will take a long time to bring this city down. Doing some aggressive roading towards Hippo Regis. All right, and more roading. I really love the logistics here. It looks like he's going to attempt to go north, judging by these movements. Building another slinger. Resuming, finishing up that worker that he put on pause. Going for another worker in the championship. Honestly, with just one champion city, I really don't think you need a second worker at all. I think one worker is enough to cover this whole situation indefinitely. So I'd like to see more military units. Yep. There are elephants in the northern city, so taking that city could be a nice point of denial for Carthage. That would leave only one more elephant on the map, plus riders in port. 3 turns on aristocracy for Mojo. I think you have 2 options here. You could press this advantage, but honestly, I really think you're in a fine spot. Your opponent only has 1 law. You know that their elephant is going to be a chore to get out in this distance. He could be trying to play around the tactician. That would make sense. But you are very close. 1, 2, 3, and then how much is the stronghold? 4 turns? 5 turns to build? So you're 8 turns away from being able to build rams in 2 different cities. Which means you're probably about 15 turns away before rams hit the map, but still. Exciting game. Mojo's certainly not out of this yet. He's in a strong position to contest these central territories. Certainly with rams as backup, Carthage will have no answer to rams unless Auro makes a quick pivot to spoked wheel. Currently, nothing that Assyria... Oh, he does have phalanx targeted. Makes sense. Rams and spears is a devastating combo. It's really hard to counter it because the only real counter to rams is horses, and then if you just surround everything with spears, well then your rams and spears will be able to mess everything up. No, the Macemen for Assyria, both players got a mercenary for hire event, and the way it works is it will give you, depending on there's several of them, right? So you can get all sorts of different stuff, but generally for the melee unit, it depends on where you are in the tech tree. So Assyria got an early steel grab. So basically, since both players got it, Carthage got a free axe, even though they did not have steel at the time. And Assyria got a free mace. So they both did get the event. It was just a matter of how deep Assyria happened to be in the tech tree when it fired for them. But yeah, there was a point when Assyria was coming in on Carthage that Carthage was lucky enough to get a free axe. It didn't really amount to much in that opening battle, but that's where this axe came from. But now he obviously has the ability to build axe, but this axe was free. And then this mace was also free. Yes, and to the best of my knowledge, all of the mercenary events are available in competitive mode. So for those who don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the events in the same way that I do, one fun fact that means is that I'm pretty sure hydraulics gives you access to a potential random free crossbow. I believe that's the tech that allows you to get the mercenary crossbows. But there are mercenary archers, chariots. Well, no, basically what it is, it's a mercenary ranged unit, a mercenary horse unit, and a mercenary melee unit. I don't believe there's a mercenary siege unit. And then what unit is offered to you at the time directly depends on where you are in the tech tree. So if you don't have spoked wheel yet, you'll get a chariot. But I think if you have like portcullis, you'll get a horseman and things like that. But yes, all of those mercenary events are available in competitive mode. All right, so I can't express enough how much I love this roading. I know some players think it's such a chore and it takes forever, but it really does pay itself off. We're going in directly for a city attack. This is so bold. This is such a risk. But he is able to protect this mace with zone of control, and you're going to want to do that because you really don't want to get this mace locked in there. Even if the mace kills a bunch of stuff on the way out. Oh my god, 13 damage. Having that mace getting listed would be awful. Yeah, chat says the idea of a mercenary siege unit sounds funny. There are some events that can give a free siege. I'm fairly certain that the only one I can think of is disabled in competitive mode, mostly because it specifically relies on an event that involves another nation, and the other nation events don't happen in multiplayer because basically they're just AI. They're events that dictate your relationship with the computer. So those are automatically disabled. They don't happen. So there's at least one event there that will give you a siege unit. I don't know if there is a mercenary siege unit event, though. I can't remember. But yeah, that would be funny. Nice to see. Oh, we're rushing an axe up here. Again, really nice, good response from Auro here. Strong reaction. This is the type of stuff that you want to see. You don't want to just keep building workers when you're in a situation like, you're going to die, basically. So nice, good reaction. Oh, and look at that repair. We did a nice chunk of damage. Oh, and we got more units. These units will get whacked down pretty easily, but always nice to make your opponent waste orders and do a couple of extra damage on the way down. But yeah, that repair was solid. It's going to be quite a chore to take this city. He very likely will need ramps, although we do have more units coming up and more roads as well. I really love this roading. I want to see more roading, in fact, from Assyria, because his rams are going to be coming from the capital and the city up here. So, wow. Okay. So, I don't think staying in this fight is the call for Carthage. This is a really strong attack. Although locking in this mace... Oh, you want to zone and control this mace, man. You got to lock it in. If you lock this in, I think you could kill it. Oh, yeah, you can definitely kill this. So this is... Alright, so this is a huge mistake. What's happening here is a huge mistake. He's changing what he's hitting around. You don't split up your attack here. If we put a bunch of units around this mace, it could prevent it from retreating. Even these militia, right? Zone of control lock this mace in here. And yes, you know, the militia and axe would kill a unit. But if the mace, sorry, the mace and the axe could kill a militia. If the mace attacks, though, it's obviously stuck in place again, right? So if you focus fire all on this mace right now, it would have gotten down to half health, which does one of two things: either forces a retreat, or if Mojo stays in, it's gonna get you that kill. And we have, oh goodness, we don't have the. We'll have the training next turn. We have the ability as Carthage to force march and enlist this mace. That'll be a massive turn to the fight. The axe is locked. Yes, indeed. That's true. The axe is locked, but I would have preferenced... in fact, with the range presence that you have in this region, I think you could have locked this axe and this mace. So you'd still be in a position where you're killing one unit next turn. Oh, and what we love, though, we love that he's staying in. Really strong aggression from Mojo. I think what the issue he's running into here, though, is he's being a little too trigger happy. Like he has an advantage in both situations, but like not quite enough of the advantage. Yes, the Zealot is right up here in this city in force march range. This Zealot will be able to come in and enlist this if there's enough damage, which is another reason why I would have liked to see more damage on the mace last turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need 14. 10, 11, 12. We can get to 12 damage. Literally just needed one more attack on this damn mace last turn, and we could have enlisted it with a force march. The reason why we could enlist, if we could get this axe here, or if we could have attacked with this slinger, but we don't have enough training to do 2 force marches. So that's one of the reasons the big blunder here by splitting up your attacks. Auro, if you watch this later for some tips or tricks. Yes, you don't want to split up your attacks like that. Or certainly if you're going to try to math it out such that you know how much you need to force march in here to get a kill. That way you can work it out next turn. All right, so now things are looking much better for Assyria. We have our reinforcements. This is exactly the type of stuff that I wanted to see in the first battle. You know, starting off with one attack and then having your units already on the way coming up. Still the tactician on the throne. So these units are hidden. Auro cannot see them. Auro, yes, is 1 turn away from labor force. He's just got it this turn, so now he's has the ability to build roads. No traders, so we won't be able to speed that up, but he could worker chain pretty efficiently. Oh, here, curious what he's going to do here. Please attack the mace. Nope. Okay, we're going for an axe. This is terrifying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He could have killed the mace. Oh my god, he could have killed and enlisted the mace. I don't know if he would have had enough to come in with a force march here. But all of these axes will be trapped in here. I do like that. I do like that quite a bit. Still, he doesn't know that there are slingers about to jump out of the woods at him. He's coming down with another axe. This is a very strong position for Carthage. It's not over yet. He can't take this city, not with a wall there. We have a free African elephant coming up off of steel. This is going to be the linchpin against the rams that are coming down the pipeline. You're only going to have one of them. But the free African elephant coming into the field now is exactly the time you need it. This is a great conflict between both players, and I love the sportsman-like banter between both players here. If you're watching on your phone, what we have here is Mojo saying, a graveyard for me. Auro saying, yes, Mojo, I see you are enjoying it. It's my pleasure. And Auro saying, don't worry, I'm stressed too. Sharing a laugh. Mason list is still 100% on the table now that more axes are in the region. Of course, these slingers could come up and create some zone blocking for... Okay. That could be a tricky spot. Although this axe is definitely screwed. And the mace is in the woods now, so that does make the likelihood of an enlist smaller. 2, 4, 6... Oh, wow. This is awesome. So axe comes up, takes out a slinger. So one axe down, one slinger down on Mojo. Strong move. Still 2 slingers in the woods. Remaining hidden. Remaining secret. All right, revealing himself now. With 1. Let's look at the score. They're both similar in power. Hop over to Mojo's perspective now. He's 1 turn away from being able to adopt his 4th law, going to husbandry next. Great. This is just a bloody battle for the center of the map. Strong showings from both players. Auro is sticking in this fight. Not really sure how I feel about that, given that you just don't have easy access to that mace that's just going to ensure that you have 1 more unit being deleted every turn. Yes, we want to be attacking it with a militia. This is the reason. You want to make sure that enough damage is on this thing that as long as it remains accessible, you can come in for the enlist. We don't have enough civics, though. Wait a minute. Oh my god, we adopted slavery. God damn it, Carthage. We're in the middle of a pitched battle with an immensely powerful, game-changing unit in the field, and we spent 400 civics on a goddamn law. That is a bummer. Auro, you are playing incredibly well. I appreciate everything you're doing right now, but that was another misstep. You definitely want to keep those civics in the bank, because you're getting closer and closer to the opportunity to enlist that mace, and that mace would completely change the battlefield for you. Especially because it's going to be in the woods. If you kill in the woods, you have a bunch of slingers around. Nice. Good job protecting this, as long as that actually attacks something. No, he's retreating. Great. So we're going to heal up. Very interesting conflict here. Very interesting battle. Taxing for both players. Still building lots of axes in Carthage. Carthage has only a slight science lead at 35 science to 32 science now. Stronger economy than Assyria. This is so interesting because of the tactician, all of these maces have disappeared, these slingers have disappeared again. Which does actually create access. This actually is going to be awful. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at least. Oh my god. That axe is on the table for the enlist. This is another reason why you don't adopt laws in the middle of a fight. because that axe can be killed next turn, because since these slingers are invisible, Carthage can step on all of them. Oof. Wow, that is just a missed opportunity for Auro. That is a maceman waiting to be enlisted. But honestly, unfortunately, even though you don't have the civics, I think you have to take the opportunity to kill it. You can kill it right now, and I think that's 100% the thing to do. You have enough damage. Oh yeah, everything that you have can do at least 2 damage to it. So come up, this is 2, 4, 6. Yep, and there we go. That maceman is dead. Whoa, man, Mojo keeps jumping the gun. He keeps getting some level of an advantage, potential advantage over his opponent, and going in too soon. This mace, combined with a couple of rams, would have been awful to deal with. This mace should go down. Auro could be realizing right now in this moment that he does not have the civics to enlist, unfortunately. Very likely kicking himself for not saving those civics, but whatever. A dead mace is still a dead mace, so this is a huge win and pushback for Auro. This is one of the negatives of the tactician. You can lose sight of the fact that your invisible units will no longer offer you protection and zone of control in the middle of a fight. Mojo complimenting his opponent. And there is the Zealot that could have been in the list. I love that move just because I think Mojo probably would have had a little bit of a heart attack for half of a second seeing that Zealot come in. Unfortunately for Auro, there is no civics in the tank in order to do that. Wow, very, very impressive fight. Very, very impressive defense by Auro here. Strong performance in both of his games so far, dealing with experienced, veteran opponents that aggress upon him, and Auro has the endurance and the stamina to stick it through, get in the thick of a fight, and multiple times I have even said, even in this game, even in this battle right here, where I might have retreated in a certain circumstance, and Auro stays in the fight, keeps applying the damage, keeps applying the pressure, and ultimately wins out. And this is exactly what we saw from him in his game against Ninja as well. Just no fear, sticking to it, standing firm, standing his ground, and winning each conflict, one battle after another, kept going to Auro in every fight he's been in so far. Even when it seems like the advantage is stacked against him, he comes out swinging and turns the tide. Very, very impressive play. Love to see it. And he's dropping notes. I suspect this is to remind him to build roads, but I think that's funny. Kudos to him. And we have our lovely elephant unit in the field. Hello, elephant. Stompy boys. I love when the Stompy boys make it into the game. Big fan of the Stompy boys. All right, back over to Mojo. Let's take a peek at his side of the map. Haven't looked over here in a little bit. Let's do an overall stat update. We're going to be seeing these roads finish up, which is nice. We have adopted our 4th law, centralization. Makes sense. And so we should be seeing, I'd like to be seeing strongholds soon. This turn even. Oh, we're not going to see them this turn because we don't have the orders. What is this? A shrine? Okay. Well, we can't get a stronghold in the champ seat, but these 2 cities can get strongholds ASAP. All right, let's do a stat update. Well, I'll watch. Oh, these are all invisible, so there's no more fight. Okay. All right, so stat updates. Oh, we have rebels. This is fun. So yeah, he got the militia event. This is spawn 2 militia, and there's a follow-up event after that that will spawn 2 rebels. Or it gives you something like 120 discontent. But no reason not to kill the rebels since you have all these units here and just kill them, get the XP. Why not? All right, so stat update. Let's take a look at things. Massive wealth advantage for Mojo. Interestingly enough, in this game, he doesn't seem to be expending all of his resources. I noticed in his first game against Fiddler, his economy was often very much zeroed out because he was using all of his gold, he was using all of his training, all of his resources constantly, never being one to build stockpiles too high. 8 specialists to Carthage now. We're climbing ahead there. 8 workers on Carthage to 6, so Mojo is keeping up despite the city advantage. 8 military units being produced on Assyria to 7 on Carthage, including 1 or 2 free units on each side. So really impressive mounted defense here on Auro. A little bit disjointed attacking on Mojo's side. I do appreciate the aggression and trying to press an advantage, but I just feel like he keeps jumping the gun each time, which is just unfortunate. Certainly difficult. The hardest thing in this game, though, is to attack. So it can be enticing to go in with a mace, and I was in favor when he was doing it. I was definitely excited to see that action, but there's also like a moment where it's like you have to decide, oh shit, this isn't going well, so you just should need to go full retreat and protect your flank, because losing that mace is just a devastating blow. All right, so let's go further on some stats. We now have 4 laws to 2, so some clear advantage for Mojo here. Carthage, for the first time, is now looking at 10 technologies over 9, but a couple of the ones for Carthage are free bonus techs, so could be a little bit misleading there. And their economy, overall improvement economy, is neck and neck. 27 improvements to 25 on Mojo. No wonders yet in the game. Let's take a look at our science. Science neck and neck throughout. Slight overall edge and advantage here to Assyria for most of it, but Carthage is just starting to climb a little bit ahead towards the end here around this turn 45 benchmark. Orders, we have serfdom. I mean, this is it. So many players I don't see prioritize serfdom in the ways that they should, but here we go. I mean, we just have a serfdom spike right here. Love to see it. And so now we have general parity between both factions, maybe slight advantage to Assyria depending on worker turns. Food, huge advantage to Carthage. Iron is Carthage as well. Stone. General economy leans Carthage here. And the military score, we have again another defeat for Mojo around turn 44, turn 35. And this parity, both moments in these games, you have parity between two players, an opponent trying to press an aggressive advantage and just dipping down massively, and it's happened yet again here. And that bonus elephant is coming online too to spread this even further apart. And I'm just going to do a quick check of legitimacy. Legitimacy is more or less even throughout as well. All right. Still anybody's game at this point. Mojo is playing well. He's just making some tactical blunders. It is possible to recover from mistakes. I definitely feel like that divide is growing further and further apart as you have more and more reliable build queues on Carthage to build units. But the Rams are not yet in the field. Disappointed. We finished the shrine and we went for gold mine. I understand because we're patrons, but really, really, really want to be seeing our garrison started right away. We do have one coming, stronghold. We do have one coming up here, but we could have 2 coming up right away. Our civics production is fine enough such that we can rush out Rams when we want to. And yeah, that could just be a great time. Gonna get a border boost opportunity. Honestly, I don't really like this. It would be nice here maybe, but I feel like you don't need this border boost. I'd probably just, yeah. I don't think border boost is the correct play here. He just clicked off of it. He could be judging the size of the border boost, but I'd stick to Phalanx or wherever his plan is with forestry. Whatever his plan is, forestry, yeah. And keep your priority in the system, because remember, whichever one you don't pick, they're either going to go back into the... Oh, yeah, and we have a massive draw pile. Yeah, so dump the border boost, stick to your target, because the two things you want to get would be dumped into the discard pile, and you'd have to draw 2 more times before you get it back. So nice to see him saying, hey, I don't need that border boost. That's a nice evaluation there. Border boost is one of those cards that can be tricky to pass up, but really important when it comes to tech pacing. And that's another thing I think less experienced players are able to conceptualize or fixate on. It's very easy to think, oh, wow, but this is a really good boost, or, oh, wow, this is a really good thing, but I need that. But always keep in mind where it is you are going in the tech tree and how much any deviations could delay you to your destinations. So, like to see that from Mojo. That's good, strong strategizing there. Love to see this chopping. Again, personally, I just straight clear cut. I feel like the games are never long enough that it really matters to worry about respawning. I just devour every forest I can see, apart from saving ones along rivers for wood upkeep. I just burn it all down, which is one of the reasons why the Hittites are one of my favorite factions, because, you know, if this were the Hittites, you could just take all these units and burn all this stuff down. Burn all the woods down without having to waste worker turns. Or it's another really good use of scouts. Just chop all the woods. If you're the Hittites, anyway. Alright, so we're officially retreating, keeping our eyes on Carthage, though. This is going to be a nice advantage, even after the tactician dies. Yep, that's also an interesting point on medium site density. When your cities are further apart, the border boost can be less appealing because you're less likely to collapse borders onto each other. Although in some ways it could even be more appealing, because maybe it feels more valuable to get more territory where you can get it. But yeah, so let's take another look. Yeah, you could get all this stuff. He's doing one last check before he commits. He's gone to drama. Wow, okay, I hate that. Hopefully that's a misclick. But we're going to head to Auro and see if drama's still there on the way when we come back. All right, we're getting... Ooh, all right, cool. Free courthouse from an event. That's always a nice grab. There's the tutor event for commerce, I believe, that gets you a free event. Let's see if we have a commerce student anywhere. No. Is this a rising star? No, he's just inspiring. Just regularly inspiring. Okay. All right, so getting our barracks online. Love to see it. That's going to help with our military production. Getting officers. Love to see it. Elephant hasn't moved at all. Oh, cool. Perfect. Building our road work. Love to see it. Strong play from both sides. Definitely going to need that road network up and running. Always worth taking the time to get that online. Don't neglect your roads, especially in this type of scenario where there aren't strong rivers. Once you have your road network up, just moving 2 units across it should pretty much make the entire cost of the road pay itself back. More or less. And when your opponent is in the other direction, you will definitely be moving more than 2 units across those roads throughout the game. Well, I can't catch every event all the time. That's fine. I'm not as focused on the events as they pop up, but I can identify when they do. I do know a courthouse comes from an event, so lots of action happening. My eyes have mostly been fixed on the center of the map. Getting these camps online. More chopping makes sense. Chopping sprees are always fun. We have a new luxury. All right, so we got some fur here. Still would love to see, we now have fur and literature. Both of these luxuries could go into the champ seat to get us culture online. Really want to prioritize that culture in your highest military production city to get that unique unit out. That's a strong advantage for this faction, and yeah, both fur and literature would be a way to spruce that up. Let's take a look at family opinions. I haven't checked that in a while. So pretty stable for Assyria. Not great, but not awful. We do have the foreign religion in the hunter seat. And the answer to Auro asked in chat if roads on hills go slower than regular roads, and the answer to that question is no. And then let's look at opinion for our Carthage friends. All right, so really strong rider's opinion, negative statesman's opinion, and mediocre artisan's opinion. If we have strong Zoro opinion, so if everybody becomes Zoro, then that'll pretty much put us all in the green throughout the faction. One nice thing about this map is that the empire size is much, much smaller. So both nations are going to not run into that much opinion issue because discontent will be low throughout most of the game. More officers being built up. That does make sense. The clock is ticking for Mojo here because as Carthage gets more and more developed, it will become harder and harder to the question that was posed earlier when Carthage expanded rapidly. You know, can 4 cities overcome 6 cities? It absolutely can, but it certainly will become harder and harder as the game goes on and the 6 cities become more and more developed. And the build queues become more efficient. So Mojo is a little bit on the clock here, which is another reason why we probably see those early aggressive plays, but the timing is just not lining up for him. I'm looking forward to having the first ram hit the map so I can kind of show you the type of damage it can do. Going back to the tech screen. He's not... Oh, I hope he's not delaying the border boost because of this shrine or whatever. That would be a real bad thing. Also, that wouldn't even make sense anyways, because even if you're delaying the border boost, you'd still want to target one of the techs that you have lined up. That way, when you cycle back to it, research on techs doesn't decay, so you could get Phalanx down to 1 turn, swap back to border boost if you want, and then the next time Phalanx comes up, at the very least, it will be at 1 turn, so... But you know, we're looking at drama. Not really fond of that pick. Yes, the courthouse event comes with something else, though. I don't remember what it is. I remember that I don't always pick the courthouse event, but yes, I like to toss a student in commerce education for that event to pop up. I honestly can't remember what the option is that I pick more than most, but you get 3 different choices, and one is a courthouse in the city. I think the other one might just be a civic dump, and I think maybe I just opt for the upfront civics. And then there's a third option. I can't really remember, but I don't always choose the courthouse, but it can be nice depending on where it lands. Free courthouse is certainly not a bad thing to end up grabbing. All right, one more turn on this drama. Let's see if we'll stick with it as Assyria. Economy is positive. Not like the best, but everything's in the green, which is nice. Let's take a comparison to Carthage. Carthage is still pretty stronger. Higher incomes on all categories. But Not massively far ahead yet, just yet. Building some farmers. Building another scout. I really like this. We already have 2 scouts, but he's going for a 3rd one just because. I mean, vision is key in this game, so I don't hate that. Going for more axemen. Very important. I have a general rule of thumb for myself. Regardless of empire size, I try to have at least one build queue. At least one build queue building a military unit at all times. So we can see that over here in Assyria. We're working on an axeman while we're also working on a worker. An apprentice officer. Might put another unit in here, or maybe go for yeah, no, I'd like to see another unit in here, to be honest. Yeah, so at least one build unit at all times in this type of arena. Building a military unit seems appropriate, if not more. And both players are currently abiding by that little standard, which I like. So it looks like we're sticking with drama here. I'm fascinated by that choice. I wonder what we're thinking there. Maybe architect? Oh, 7 laws probably. Okay, I get it. None of the current choices in the hand get us closer to law timing. I mean, I guess Phalanx would. So yeah, Phalanx would. And I mean, I'd rather legal code for the civics. If I'm going to be civic rushing my unique unit, or obviously divine rule for the orders, but yeah, I don't know. Drama's confusing me. I'm going to ask him about that at some point. Of course, when you're up against the timer and at this stage in the game, there's been enough aggression and tenseness. It's certainly easy to lose focus. It's pretty much impossible. Nice. We have our stronghold coming up in the capital. 4 turns. So we'll have rams coming down the pipeline with some level of consistency shortly. Yeah, but it's always difficult to play at peak efficiency at all time when you're up against the clock, when you're playing in real time. And you keep losing units to your opponent. That's always a bummer. Love to see this road. Oh, interesting. I'm being informed that the free courthouse event is specifically a tutor event, not related to commerce education. Interesting. I could have sworn... I do now remember it being a tutor event, but I could have sworn that it required commerce, too. But I think what you need to have, at least on the child, is 1 wisdom as well. Or more than 1 wisdom. But yeah, it's an education event. It's related to being tutored. And the other options are 2 legitimacy or civics and humble. Yeah, so I think I more often than not take the civics and the humble because that's wisdom and more civics. Nice. Really like these road pins. All right. So we've cycled the deck. We now have composite food boost for another cycle if we want it. I could actually see that to get us to sovereignty. Or spoked wheel. Maybe he wants chariots. No spears on our opponent yet. Maybe we have horses in the capital. I would actually love that. Bringing in chariots into this situation would be handy. There's enough open terrain on the way into the nation that I think that could work, especially up here. I could see a food boost cycling into chariots. Or composite bow. Those would be my 2 guesses currently. And we're chopping more trees. Love it. Compared to Auro, by the way, who's doing no chopping. Of course, he's making plenty of gold income, but so is Assyria, so love to see the chopping. I think it's a great use of orders. All right, full retreat, getting our units back towards Assyrian territory. Curious if... Man, this river will be nice for Carthage once he gets exploration. And in fact, Assyria should be swapping. Yeah, aha. Assyria started with epics, but has swapped into exploration, so that's also handy for here. Let's take a look at the comparison here, the difference between these units and how much they can cross this river, right? So this is the fatigue level of a Carthaginian unit crossing these rivers, you know, crossing up and down these tiles here, compared to, look at this. A Assyrian unit isn't even slowed down by these woods because there's a river there. So, very important consideration. I think a lot of people don't, especially newer players or less experienced players, don't really understand that the real value of exploration is the river movement, and less so the whole scout on water thing. Both players are taking their turns at a pretty good clip, which is nice. We're just 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes into the game and 50 turns in. I think this game's looking to go about 3 or 4 hours today before they break. I think they gave a tentative time frame in chat. I honestly don't remember. But I will be here with them until they choose to finish up. I think we will be in for a long haul in this situation. We are opting for composite bow. I like that. We have slingers. We have sentinel. And this will also give us a ballista, which will put in a lot of work. Does Carthage still have a swift ruler? No, they do not, but they do have a zealot. So effectively, yes. They still have they've had an extra fatigue all game long. They opened with a swift ruler, and now they have a zealot on the throne, so nice movement on Carthage's side. Carthage is starting to climb ahead in science. 40 science on Carthage, 234 for Assyria. 2 turns on navigation for Carthage, which will be his 3rd law. But really, still, we're just going to have to find an opportunity. I think we're climbing towards that here. I would not be surprised if we open with colonies first and then get serfdom later. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Getting our stone income up and running. Still building more axes. More axes. Love to see it. This axe was just finished. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another axe or maybe a slinger. Some more ranged units would be nice. Even though we have a lot of woods over here, you can always chop it down. Deny that advantage. Especially because you could leave these woods, put units in woods, and then chop everything outside your borders. Alright. 2 more turns on yet another axeman, so I'll take a look at that military graph. Yeah, wow. Oof. This is just not a good place to be in. Excuse me. Auro definitely strikes me as a more conservative, cautious player. A couple of different times he's had an advantage to the point where perhaps he could aggress on his opponent, but he's not willing to risk it. Doesn't want to put himself in a similar situation as those who have aggressed against him. All right. Whoa. Cool. We have the Ancient. cognomen. And we had, oh, we've swapped to a schemer, although she's dead. So the Ancient is one of my favorite cognomens in the game. And the reason for that, where is it? The reason for that is you get it if your ruler has reigned for 50 years, and that's how the points and the credits work. So basically, full respect to Mojo here, this cognomen only happens if you've played terribly. That's the only way to get these cognomens. If you haven't done anything else to give yourself a plus 50 cog or higher in 50 turns, then you get the Ancient. So this is one of my favorite cognomens in the game because it's basically it basically says, "Good job, buddy, you tried," after 50 turns of gameplay. Oh yeah, then mortality is on realistic. So that's pretty impressive that she made it this far. Good for her. She's going to be able to be a schemer for 1 turn. Would give him the opportunity to purchase orders right now. Yeah, we have a comment from chat saying, crazy how people sleep on this game. I'm assuming he's talking about Old World, and yes, it's a damn shame. That's one of the reasons why we're happy to be doing this tournament. Happy to be spending so much time on live streamed content. We're really, really grateful to our players taking the time. Auro actually commenting on the length of health of his leader. And now realizing that he's gonna die soon. But yeah, no, we're really grateful for our players for keeping up a pretty swift pace in this tournament. We were certainly expecting a bit more time in between games, but we've been plowing through games so far, and we're thrilled to be catching most of them. We've only missed about 2 or 3 games so far. So the playlist on YouTube is growing. So we appreciate people joining us live, and if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're with us live, feel free to go to the Mohawk YouTube, check out their playlist, and maybe do a quick run around to the community and give us all a like, a subscribe, maybe drop a comment on some of your favorite games. It'll definitely help the algorithm spreading this stuff around, and we'll just get people talking about the game that we all love. It's a fantastic game. Still no law on Carthage. I really suspect a colonies play. Just a couple of gold here will get him that elephant. Still would need the other law. We have a nice orator. Pretty solid family. Well, I mean, actually, this is going to counter it. Take a look here. Still, pretty solid opinion here, like this. Things in Carthage are looking up. I think the window for Auro to close this gap is closing. Love the bireme here. This is great. He could rush this with training. In fact, I haven't really been paying attention if he's been using... His state religion is Zoro, so he needs to spread it. You gotta manually spread. Where are we? You can rush here. He can rush here. You want to manually spread to your capital. Or maybe down here, rush out a ship real quick. And then, yeah, you can enact colonies. He didn't. He went serfdom. But if you enacted colonies, that's a bummer, man. You could take that bireme and purchase all along this coast, even giving yourself, even up to the point, this would be massively expensive, by the way. This probably wouldn't be worth it, but still, it would be cool. You give yourself a sea route into the back of your opponent's empire, and they'd have to keep eyes back here at all times. That could be fun. We have composite bow in 9 turns on Carthage, so I'm really liking his tech choices here. Again, remember, we almost got 17 turns on monasticism, but he realized, no, I need to be able to defend myself. He did a nice pivot here, and he's sticking with it, going up to composite bow in 9 turns, which is really nice because our Carthage friend, sorry, our Assyrian friend is having composite bow in 8 turns. So they're both going to have composite at almost exactly the same time, which is what you want for Assyria. Sorry. If you're Carthage. Yep, Carthage is much stronger currently. The military difference is massive. Another reason to go in on composite now. You can upgrade your slingers to archers, widening that gap further, and that will give you a potential window to go in for a kill. Those archers will definitely not be fond of rams once they show up. We do have the opportunity to build one now. We're going for a trapper in here. Trying to look at... yeah, we don't have any good governors. That sucks. Alright, well, trapper it is. And we have finally put one luxury in this city, which is great. 13 turns to develop. I would like to see the fur in this city as well. But I'm guessing we tossed it over here, didn't we? Yes, we did. Does make sense, but I would prioritize developing in my champion seat. Getting pastures. Chariots would really be useful here because really, from the Assyrian perspective, there has been no sign of polearms yet. So a couple of solid routes on your next attack would be super handy. We have a hero on the throne. Educated, ruthless, Book of Secrets. So that's 40 opinion across all families. So our opinion is pretty stable. Not amazing, but not terrible. Strong ruler. 6 courage. With 12% chance to crit. That's pretty good, and the ability to launch offensive. That could come in handy, making decent training as well. All right, our road networks are almost finished. As Carthage. Let's take a look at orders here. So we have 19 per turn on Carthage to 17 per turn on Assyria. Plus or minus worker turns. So pretty neck and neck there. Building a barracks in the center. Feeling confident enough to develop our urban centers in the center of the map. Still would like to see some chopping along here. Hero leader's ability to heal while pillaging could be the least exploited ability in the game, someone says from chat. And yeah, definitely tricky to pay off, but it can come in clutch. I've used it once or twice in very close-knit duels like this, but no, certainly doesn't see a lot of action. It can surprise your opponent. They can think that they have you dead. And another way that it's useful actually is, let's say you want to zone of control lock a unit that's right here, and there's a mine behind him, and you just took some damage. You could actually take a wounded warrior, move it behind the opponent, pillage to heal him up, making him harder to kill, and even though he didn't do an attack, he still did the job of locking in the target that you're trying to kill in place, at least forcing everybody to try and kill that unit to free the unit. So interestingly enough, the pillage to heal ability is actually pretty decent for tactical movements, but no, it's hard to make use of. And obviously, if you want to fight, it's nice to be able to pillage and heal your guys up mid-conflict. That could be useful too. depends on how committed you are to keeping the territory too. In a game like this, I feel like once you start winning battles in a match like this with duels, once you start winning battles, I mean, you can pillage as much shit as you want because the game is just going to get closer and closer to ending. All right, let's take a look over at Assyria now. We have our first battering ram coming up. 5-turn battering rams in the capital, although I guess that would have been 6 turns. We make 50 civics per turn. We could come out... Oh, there's 7 turns. Yeah, we have enough income to rush this out at half price each time. So we could get them down to about 3 or 4 turn ballistas. Sorry, battering rams each time. That could be worth it with our civics. We're not going to be at 7 laws anytime soon, so... No, someone asked, so I played this game a lot, someone asked if I've only used the pillage ability once or twice in 4,000 hours worth of play. No, I mean in duels. I don't play a lot of multiplayer. I have played it. Have used it in single player. I actually pillage a lot in single player because this does not apply to the multiplayer arena, but there are quite a couple of crazy events that will fire in single player mode. They're pretty powerful. There's at least 2 that are like really powerful, and then the other 3 or 4 are just decently mediocre. So yeah, I actually pillage a lot in single player. Not so much in multiplayer, although sometimes I do. Pillaging, I think, is underrated in general, especially in single player. Not really applicable to this tournament, but I don't think people know about the really nice events that can pop up when you pillage stuff. There's some really, really crazy good ones. Yeah. All right, oh, see, this is lovely. We have 2 boats coming out. Love me some naval action. It's almost as if they're in sync here. One started building a boat, and then the other is immediately following up building a boat. And what's nice here is the champion seat boat will come out sooner, so that's really lovely for them. Cool. And just to belabor the point, forgive me, we're 7 turns away from developing culture here, and I said a while back that one thing I would do with the starting literature is immediately slot it into the champ seat, and this just highlights, since we added this in recently, only like 5 or 6 turns ago, it's turn 54. Had I slotted in that literature immediately, this would have already been developing by now. And that's one of the advantages of patrons, because yes, it's nice to have that luxury in the capital, but I also don't need it in the capital because I'm going to have so much other stuff generating culture. Specifically, even though this isn't even a long list, you have the 2 from the cap, the 2 from paganism, and then my precious resources are boosting it. So I don't necessarily need the luxury here. It certainly is useful, but if I have a champ nations and patrons, which you're gonna have that with both Assyria, Greece, and Rome. Oh my god, and Axum. Pretty much every champion nation has patrons on it, now that I think of it. So if I bring in patrons to the game when I have champions, that first luxury is going to the champ seat almost 90% of the time for me. The only other exception I can think of is if I'm culture rushing in the capital and I want to put an estate in the capital immediately. That's the other exception. All right, Carthage's roads is looking nice here. Almost completely finished. Really like the semi-worker chain. If you put 3 workers back to back to back and pull from the back, so you grab the back one and move all the way up, you can see he moved exactly 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, road, and then 1, 2, 3, road, ignoring the river for a moment. But if you do that, 3 workers had the exact same order efficiency as 1 trader's workers. You lose no efficiency whatsoever. So the fun thing about the trader's workers is they don't technically save you orders. They do save orders by moving around, right? So if I wanted to move this worker chain up here to build a worker, I still would be moving 3 units. But once you actually have your chain set up, the trader's worker doesn't actually save you any orders. What it saves you is the number of units it takes. So you need 3 workers to be just as efficient as a trader's worker. But worker chains are always fun to set up. I like bringing those up every now and then. What is my favorite pillage event? Well, that would be spoiling. And since it's not a very popular used mechanic, I'm not going to tell you my favorite pillage event. Because I want players to go out into the world of old and explore for themselves and discover the glory that awaits them. But I'll give you one example, just for the hell of it. There is an event that when you pillage, it will either give you a lump sum of gold, so like 1,000, 2,000, whatever, depending on what point in the game it is. So like mid-game, it's like 800 or 900 gold. It's a sizable chunk of gold. Or you can select to increase your family opinion by 40, and it's like family opinion for all 3 families. So you either get a lump sum of cash or you get a big burst of opinion. I believe the opinion only lasts for like 20 years, so it's not a lot, but still, that's one example of, and that's one of the weakest ones. All right, we're moving our scout up, which is nice. I really love the idea of having a 3rd scout in this region. 6 turns to composite bow. They're both going to be neck and neck on this one. 6 turns to composite bow in Syria. So Carthage is catching up here on science momentum, just slightly just increasing each turn. All right, so neck and neck on that composite bow. Really love to see that, which means they're both going to be very similar timing on the potential for a free ballast. So we have 1 draw before a reshuffle for Assyria, and on Carthage we will be reshuffling. So Carthage is technically potentially closer to the free ballista than Assyria is, but it will obviously come down to that shuffle. Do want to check. Yeah, this military score is a huge problem. So I don't know. Having 2 battles that you've lost back to back, basically, and then catching up after the fact, is going to be tricky because Auro is showing no signs of slowing down on unit production. Although I guess he is building a festival up here for some godforsaken reason. His opinion's fine. His opinion's amazing. What is he building a festival for? Growth? Oh, I guess he wants another citizen? But that's not going to speed that up. Yeah, don't like it. Oh well. Nice to see a Zoro disciple. Really want to spread that religion around for rushing. I haven't noticed if he's been doing any rushing. Let's see. Yes, he's previously done it 4 times. Nice. Cool. That's just awful to deal with. What about over here? 1 time. Terrible. Terrible news for Mojo. Yep, and once he spreads that religion around even further, it will give him more opportunities to rush. He's 41 years old. You want to make use of that before your guy dies. You're making really good trading here. So, like, you know, getting a Zoro over here will let you to rush that boat. Saving time on your queues is arguably one of the most important thing in this game. Timing is everything in this game. I think time in general is the most valuable resource in the game. That's one of the reasons why landowners is my favorite family. Everybody always thinks I'm weird for saying that. But the reason for that is because they save you time. You can get your rural specialists, which are high value, right? You want things like these fur online. That can be valuable. You want things like game or wheat. You know, you don't need a bunch of mines, or necessarily anyway, but iron, things like that. You want all that stuff online. And the landowners will do it in half the time. So it's... there are even situations where I would rather put landowners in a 3 iron spot than I would rather put champions there. Because you're going to get all 3 of those iron up and running in half the time. And even though after, if once you're done with that, the champions is going to have higher output, you can basically make a landowner's city have just as much output as a champion city. And then you can, if you're Rome, for example, you could just then still have your champion city. So you get 2 high output cities. And you don't waste your champion city build queue building 3 iron miners. So I'm very conscientious of how I manage my build queues. Of course, I say all this stuff, and then I'm sure I'll finally enter the tournament, and I'll play like an asshole, and everyone will make fun of me, and that'll be fun. So feel free to dog on any mistakes that you see me make, because nobody's perfect. 3 turns on a battering ram, 2 turns on this trapper. Hopefully we see more battering rams coming out front. We're also just very close to developing culture here, which is nice. So more unique units. Yep, good point. Someone mentions statesmen for rushing. I suspect they're trying to talk about judges, but really, the only way judges work is if they're in the champion's family. But you could always marry... no, I'm trying to think about how that would work. Courtiers, I guess. Maybe courtiers show up. That's actually another reason why I like patrons. You can always luck into a nice courtier to start. If you luck into a judge to start, oh, that's fantastic. I don't think they're the better archetype you could luck into off of that free courtier. And if we look at character preferences, orator, builder, and scholar, right? But even builder and scholar are solid grabs to have as a free character lying around. You could have potential inquiries if you want them. Obviously, builders are fantastic. Governors, orators are fine. Certainly strong civic boosters, which is never a bad thing. And then those characters make great governors. Although I'm pretty sure the courtiers that come in actually match the family that they come in as. So maybe there's less versatility there, but still, always nice to have. Ooh, fun. We have an interesting road coming down south. I think I know where this Byreme is coming. He's going to go for some type of flank. Mojo has no vision down here. He does have a scout here. Let's see if Mojo notices what's happening and if he decides to move this scout here to keep peeking. I really, really like this play from Auro here. This is really awesome tactics. Does he have exploration yet? No, he does need exploration. Exploration will solve any slowdown from these marshes. This is another reason why you want to chop woods around your area. If all of these woods were chopped, cleared, you wouldn't have to think about or worry about whether your opponent can spot what you're doing. So, I respect building these buildings, but honestly, I might take just a couple of turns, 17 orders per turn, just a few turns, and just clear everything. That really sets up... This could be a... Oh, we already have our boat, though. This is great. Lovely tension brewing here. We already have a ship built in Gaza from Mojo. So he can stop... He will probably spot this advance coming. And he has a ship that he can do something about. He also has Grappler. He has Amphibious. Both really great promotions. He can opt for more focus, which is probably what you're going to need in a pitched naval battle when you're going 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 down here. But this is going to keep him safe and prevent this surprise invasion. But I really love this idea from Auro. Creative thinking. Love to see creativity. And 1 turn away from our first ram. Let's see how much it's going to take us up here. 8 turns. That kind of is shitty, but... I mean... It is what it is, I guess. Building another road. Don't hate it. Probably would have dropped it down more done down here, but, whatever. Still want to see a road crossing this way, too. Right here, maybe? Build a road with this worker once you're done, and then just road, 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 road. Three turns until we're developing here. So yeah, we'll have the ability to build rams in our champ seat soon, and that could be an issue, but I don't know. This is a growing gap. You're going to want to bring in horses. I feel like horses would be very helpful here after composite. The only way to deal with this, and the nice thing is that since these are all axes, they're going to stay non-pole arms, right? So even if your opponent does bring in pole arms eventually, there's still a massive amount of units who are not polearm units, which means having a couple of units that can route on your side will be super handy tactically, because one of the ways that you can overcome an advantage like this is increasing your kill potential. Fighting battles and making sure you're killing 2, 3, 4 units per turn when your opponent's only killing 1, 2, or 3. And just kind of like Iron Manning it. All right, so we have some advancement. Oh, and we have a rushed. We do. We got our Zoroastrian disciple down into Zama, and we've rushed our Byrian. So we're going to have some ship-on-ship contact very shortly. Love to see it. Naval conflict has been showing up in some of our battles recently, and it's really great to see. Very easy to overlook. Very easy to make it not be a big part of a game, but there is some potential here to do a surprise attack. So I like the thinking on both players' sides. Carthage attempting to take advantage of this opening, and Assyria thinking, well, I shouldn't not have any ships here. All right. I don't think Carthage can see this. Let's take a look at that science one more. Still slight edge on Carthage. Nope, that's orders. Yep, still slight edge. 46 to 40, so Mojo is climbing. He's climbing from behind. Another Byrian. Interesting. Interesting. We'll see if he goes for a second training. Certainly, I think if you're up against an opponent in a duel format, head-to-head format, you don't want to be advancing over in the ocean with just one ship. You should always bring at least 2. Because if it's a one-on-one ship combat, literally whoever strikes first will win that conflict. So it's always helpful to have a backup ship if you suspect there's naval conflict, or if you're trying to make a naval play. All right, first ram online. I'll wait a turn or so, but we'll see how well that spiked our power. Let's take a look. Assyria can see this Carthaginian worker. So they now know roads are coming down here. He's probably feeling really good about having a ship here now. Thinking, okay, why would this road be coming down south? I suspect Mojo would be clever enough to deduce that a ship is either in the water now or coming. We do have our second ship. This is really bad for Mojo. If he doesn't get a second ship in the water soon, naval supremacy could be locked out entirely. This is the only place that you can build a boat. So once you kill the first boat, only one boat will be able to come into the water at a time with no city to hide into. So Carthage can continue killing ships indefinitely. Then Mojo would be left to blockade this coast with units so that Carthage can't make landfall. Which is doable, but then that gives Carthage 2 modes of attack. He can, well, 3 technically. He can come in north, he can come in right across these mountains, or he can threaten coastal. Really, really liking this tactical setup from Auro here. Excellent kind of analysis of the map and trying to bend it to your will and make it work for you. Really liking that a lot. And again, still props to Mojo for not neglecting this as a possibility as well. Again, sound analysis of the map and potential threat potential, and he's now having it confirmed by seeing this worker here. He could be thinking, oh shit, maybe Carthage is going to stage right here, send in some boats, and go whoop, right around the corner. We have a third bireme. Holy shit, this is awesome. No reason not to rush it. Get 3 biremes in the water, sail across the bay, and say hello to your friend. Nice seeing this road as well. Really strong strategic development from Auro here. Kudos to him. Again, I believe he's new to the multiplayer scene, but he's adapting to the dueling scenario quite well. Really keeping his cool under pressure. In both games so far, he's received heavy aggression from his opponent early, and he's just held his momentum, kept his cool, and kept going. Love to see it. Developing a strong economy and reacting well to the game as it goes on. I believe this would be composite. No, one more turn for composite here. I think Mojo is running out of time to put more boats in the water. If these 3 ships... Wait a minute. Didn't he rush that? Oh, is that one? Well, anyway, I thought he rushed a 3rd ship. He is going for a 3rd ship, which he could rush. But he doesn't have the training for it anymore. Mojo is running out of time to put more ships in the water. Also, Carthage can see Mojo's ship. So all the more reason for Carthage to move his 2 or 3 ships in tandem and try to come in with a strike that immediately locks down or eliminates his ship. And once he has superiority here, again, this is just, even if this isn't the way into the Empire, your capital is right here, your champion seat is right here, so you will be forced to monitor this coastline and prevent landfall. There's pretty much no opportunity. You can't give your opponent an opportunity to make landfall here and just ignore this whole tactical advantage. That's the other thing, too. Building road right here as well. Oh, nice. Assyria might be thinking the same idea, put an anchor here, and I can maybe surprise my opponent from the south. Doesn't quite work the same way because Carthage has so much good vision here. Even without the workers, he would pretty much immediately be able to see landfall and units coming up. Still, enjoy the creativity from both players here. Solid development in Carthage, going for barracks, going for garrisons. That must have been an event from a rebel, or do we have religious dissent? Nope. Slums, maybe? Yeah, must have been a rebel. Okay. An event, I mean. Really amazing opinion on Carthage. Both religions friendly with him, which also means he's double stacked on this happiness bonus. So his discontent in his capital is only +3, or -3, however you want to phrase it, because he's got a bunch of great opinion coming in. That's solid. Really, 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 really good for him. Yeah, even over here, even in the statesman seat, he had the luxury sent to the city, so it's another +3. He's going to have no real issue, only +6 in this city, no real issue with discontent in his game. And now we're back to Mojo, and Mojo has... Oh, he can get a free bireme. That actually might be the grab here. Build another one. You're thinking that your opponent is doing something with cheeky with ocean movement. There's no reason to build a road down here unless your opponent's thinking they're going to hop across. So I would build another ship coming out in 3 turns, and I'd actually grab another ship from the free tech right here. Although, hard to pass up both spoked wheel. So... yeah, I don't know. This is a really tough call. Spoked wheel would be fantastic, too. Because, again, we know that most of our opponent's units are not polearm. Really tough call. Spoke wheel, okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Spoke wheel is such a good grab here. Still not building another unit. Acolytes. Alright, we're thinking, oh, we're going to sovereignty. Alright. I really like spoked wheel for this, personally. Sovereignty does get us close to 7 laws, but we're not anywhere really near there anyway. So we still need 3 more. That's a lot of science away. I'd rather spoked wheel. Getting us a free battering ram card as well, right? So we get the free batter ram. We get horses, which will be super helpful giving our opponent's army composition. And then we can worry about 7 laws later. Be very curious when, and we're building our stronghold here. And are we building another stronghold up here yet? No, not yet. More chopping. I like that. The road to chopping. Cool. Hey, cool. And more forests have grown back. So, interesting. Maybe that will be worthwhile. Probably not, because then you'd spend all the orders coming back here. So the way I look at it is, how much orders are you spending per like bundle of wood, if you want to call it that? So you could consider every forest is 3 orders for 40 wood, because you're moving onto the tile, you're chopping it twice, and then you'd move away. So moving on to this and chopping it twice would be 3 orders. Then moving on to this and chopping it twice would be 3 orders, etc., 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 right? Until the whole thing is completely clear. I'm talking full clears here. But so the thing is if you come in half clear, you're doing 2 orders for 20 wood. So move, chop, move, chop, move, chop. 2 orders for 20 wood, as opposed to 3 orders for 40 wood. But the thing is then once you come back, once I walk over here to chop, and then I spend my orders to come over here to chop, you're also factoring in how many orders it's going to take this worker to come all the way back here and chop again. So I've never sat down and like spreadsheeted it, but it just feels more efficient to just full chop the damn thing and forget about it. Still though, nice to see the forest regrowing and giving them another opportunity. Mojo is in a pickle. Use every bit of help you can get. Let's look at that power score now. Yeah, so I mean, the Rams are coming online, but, man, that is a massive hole to dig out of. We have not yet seen Auro aggress yet. At the end of his marathon session with Ninja, he won a decisive victory in a defensive battle and began to aggress towards his opponent in response, which resulted in the surrender. However, oh, right, we have our ballista grab. There's no other option here. You're grabbing this ballista. Yes, I think he's doing that for our entertainment. What? What? He must just be trolling me. That's gonna swap. There's no way. Anyway, yeah, so we haven't seen Auro aggress yet. We haven't seen him go on the offensive against an opponent who actually had an army to defend with. So it should be an interesting watch to see how his tactics shift once he's the aggressor. Pretty strong economy, though. Could get that iron up more. But decent stone, very decent food. Amazing gold, of course. None of this is even coming from... Wow, look at this gold here. 285 money coming in from the capital. He doesn't even have a high discipline character. Is the governor high discipline? No, not really. Very nice gold income from Carthage. Carthage be doing Carthage thing. They always are flush with cash. Nice. Cool. Strong opinions all around. We have a Swift Zealot heir. Oh, good God, that's disgusting. So our heir, we have a current heir on the throne, which is a Zealot, and we have a Swift Zealot heir. So for the entirety of this game, Auro will have at least +1 fatigue, and then once this character gets on the throne, he'll have +2. Because he started with Swift on his opening ruler, he has a Zealot now, and now he has a Swift Zealot coming down the pipeline. That is a massive amount of fatigue boost to just have going throughout the entire game. Let's do an air check on Assyria. Assyria has, 2 husbands. We have a hero and an orator, and we have a tactics student, only 11 years old, hasn't grown up yet, so we'll have to wait on that. All right, I'm going to just take one quick break for a second. I will leave the camera down here in the event that Carthage decides to do something cheeky and run up here with a couple of boats. Both of these units could reach it here with a force march. He would have the orders for that, so I'll leave that down here just in the event he decides to go in for a quick attack. And I'll be back in one moment. Looks like all things are quiet in the Atlantic Ocean down here. Still working on a third bireme. No extra ship coming in for Assyria, despite this road network. And if you're still with us in chat and on YouTube, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you tuning in live. Appreciate you checking this out on the playlist after the fact. And yeah, please go around and leave a comment and like and subscribe. Really keeps us motivated to stay engaged. Alcaris, myself, Fluffy, Kitten, we're all excited about this tournament. We're thrilled with the level of participation so far. Just really, really cool to see. Thank you. All right, yeah, so we have pins for these military complexes coming out. We'll be strong shortly, so let's do a law check. Still quite a ways away from 7 laws. Really hard to make payoff with Carthage. We like to joke that the real unique unit of Carthage is the 6th strength tribal unit. Unfortunately, with the density of this map, there were no tribal units for Carthage to take advantage of. So that was a real bummer there. But I mean, Auro is making it work, you know. Even barbarian units will put in enough work. They're a little bit underrated, I think. You definitely don't want to rely too heavily on them, but they can certainly save you, and they did save him early on in that conflict, having those 4 or 5 barbarian units that he upgraded, because a 4-strength unit is still a 4-strength unit. Definitely don't want to have them in against a champion nation, but he made it work here. We have a rushed miner, probably rushed with training. I don't necessarily hate that. That's the other thing that can be overlooked. It's very easy to think about using the zealot rushing strictly for military units, but it can also be used to boost your economy. Personally, I think I would have liked to see another officer here, but probably trying to collapse those borders. Don't really need it with the road, but whatever. It is a luxury. And artisans like gems, but I mean, opinion's fine, but toss one more gem in the capital and your discontent is frozen for the rest of the game. Honestly, I wouldn't even toss it in the capital. I'd toss it right here. That's another way about how I juggle discontent and opinion management and luxuries. Since the discontent is already slowed down to 40 turns right here, I wouldn't even worry about investing that anymore. I'd take a luxury and throw it in here because, look, we're 17 turns away here. So a luxury would probably bump that up to something like 30 or whatever. And that has more long-term value to me than dropping down the capital. It's Pure Luck has asked me a question in the chat. Do schemers need a nerf? That's a great question. I don't think so. Certainly I'm not sure, but I don't think so. I'm not going to get into a... maybe I'll talk about it in chat on Discord at some point. So if you're not on Discord, please feel free to join. That's where most of us hang out and talk endlessly about this game. Oh, of course, I never shut up about it. Yeah, and I'll dig into the schemer a little bit. It's certainly very powerful, but so is the builder, you know, as an opener. So is a scholar. So I don't think it needs a nerf. It might. It's possible, but I don't think so. Hard to say. All right, building more rams. I'd like to see another ram up here. We do have Constitution now. Not Constitution, Sovereignty, which will get us Tyranny, which is amazing to have. We have really good training in the capital. We have really good training in the Hunter seat. Oh, we got child labor in the Hunter seat. We love it. So that's essentially another free barracks. Yeah, and so why I love Tyranny. Honestly, I have a hard time, speaking of buffs and nerfs, I have a hard time justifying Constitution in the face of Tyranny, to be honest. I understand decrees. I like decrees. That can work. That part makes sense. But the specialists, I never have enough urban specialists where that feels worth it in compared to effectively placing a free barracks in every city. Plus an income boost. It's just Tyranny every day for me, to be honest. But you certainly want it when you have 3 already really nice training cities. Oh yeah, look at that champ seat. Basically get another barracks. Why not? So we'll probably get a Tyranny grab in one more turn. Exactly 1 civics away from it. That sucks. But that's how it works. We have an anchor. That's bold, man. Oh, Carthage can't see it. That's great. Carthage knows that a boat is in the water, but they can't see the anchor because they moved the worker back. At least, I don't know if he spotted the anchor. He definitely can't see it now, but that I don't know 100% when this happened. So that's fun. Definitely able to rush this now if you want it. Can save 5 turns and then take all 3 ships and say hello to Assyria. See what's up. Yes, I've been noticing that. We had a comment in chat about having a stockpile of training here, and also gold. In his previous game, Mojo was very much a, if I have the resources, I'm going to spend it and use it immediately. In this game, he seems to be building reserves and stockpiles, which I do find interesting. A little bit of shift in play there. I wonder if that's a reaction to maybe some comments on his game, because he did let me know that he was, he kind of followed some of the feedback of the commentary. I didn't commentate any of those games, but I definitely chatted about them in the... I watched most of his game live. Or I wonder if maybe like sometimes he switches up his strategy depending on what's going on in his game. So this is curious. He could be thinking about an upgrade. He does have slingers. How many slingers does he have? He has 4 slingers that can all become archers now, so he could have been stockpiling for that reason. Same with the gold. Both could be... And I mean, that's why he was chopping as well, right? So, yeah, I suspect... And maybe he could be saving to promote Ooh, yeah, that's another answer. He's very much into promotions, so he could be saving up a stockpile in order to promote his rams to max level as quickly as possible. Rather than just having 2 rams, he would have 2 max level rams. Also, he does have a hero. Great call out in chat. Yep, there's a hero on the throne. So stockpiling for launch offensive would make the most sense there. Yeah, I missed that. But yes, that's the answer to the training, 100%. Keeping launch offensive in the tank for sure. Welcome to the chat, Solver. Welcome to the chat, Fluffy. Thanks for being with us. And thanks for all the work that you guys do on this game. You guys are the reasons we're all here. All right, so we have archers coming up down the pipeline. So this is pretty much our first main deviation to our units makeup in Carthage. And one thing, speaking of promotions, this, Carthage won a battle. And in the midst of this battle, this free elephant was coming up online. And then it came out. And it's been sitting on this barracks ever since. I really like this. We're already at 100 out of 200 XP for the 2nd level. So, I mean, if you're not using it right now, you have plenty of time to come up to the front line and resource it. I feel like this is a really fun use of the barracks ability of just being able to afford yourself a higher level unit. We have generals coming on. These ships down here. But yeah, I really like this. Good job making use of the barracks. Can be easy to overlook that little advantage, and every little bit helps, right? Yep, promoting some units down here, or adding a general on them, rather. And honestly, I would just get this over with. Rush one more out. 3 ships on a coastal rain basin map should be enough to secure you naval supremacy. I would have some level of confidence of taking all 3 ships into my opponent, because you figure your opponent probably doesn't want to waste too much build time on putting ships in the water when this is what we're dealing with down here, this small strip. So I would just rush that and just get myself in a position ready to go say hello. But I'm not exactly a patient player, so there's that. That is the free elephant from Steel. This is bonus card elephant. So we did a very good... It was lovely to see, because the poor guy almost spent 18 turns grabbing monasticism while Steel was in the deck and he was under attack. And he pivoted to Steel and was able to save himself with a couple of rushed axes. And even though the elephant didn't do anything, the elephant hopped into his deck too. So even if the attack didn't work out in his favor, he would have had the elephant to back up as well. So really nice reactionary pivot there. He did have monasticism in his hand selected. I don't know if he put a turn into it or not, but yeah, he almost made a very big misplay by going greed heavy. So honestly, Auro, his main strength that I can see so far, if I were to evaluate him as a player, again, I don't consider myself an expert in multiplayer, but he is reacting very, very well to the circumstances. We saw that before in the ninja game. We saw his ability to keep cool and not lose morale, and the same type of thing is happening here, where he's facing early aggression and 2 different invasions. If you're just joining us, I'll highlight them right down here. They were neck and neck in terms of power. Mojo tried to press an advantage and lost the battle, and then it happened again with Mojo had a free mace of all things. He got a lucky event mace, and then just lost that battle hard as well. So kudos to Auro for just kind of keeping his cool under pressure. More rams coming up. 3 rams coming up. Really love to see it. We have 4 turn rams in the champion seat. That's the type of production level we want to see here. And did we grab sovereignty? Oh my good God. What is happening? I mean, I guess if you don't need it, you don't need it. How much would 2 more training really add here? Not a lot. Still, what about over here? Yeah, 20. That was just the threshold you need to make this 6 turns. So it would go from 7 to 6. I think that's worth it. I mean, I guess you don't need it there, so maybe not. I don't know. What is it? 6 science you would be trading? I don't know, 6 science. So let's look at that science graph. Does this keep them in... Well, yeah, okay. So maybe foot and mouth here. Maybe this is worth it. They're already close, and Assyria was climbing ahead anyway, so... Maybe that's the play, and maybe Mojo knows that because he's a strong player. Instinctually, I would go tyranny, but... He is working from behind, so I guess he needs every bit of science that he can get. Kudos to Mojo. We have an interesting question from chat, catching up a little bit here. I think it's worthwhile to talk about. Question is, how does 1v1 work? Seems like the nuance is lost when you're just trying to out-aggro your opponent. Maybe I don't know what I'm looking at, only started playing last week. So yes, it's definitely a different format. You can play the single-player game, which is a lot of fun. You know, you're in a nation with multiple, you're in a world with multiple nations, and there's diplomacy, and there's ambition victories, and there's all sorts of, you know, there's the classic Civ element where you're playing against the computer and you're feeling like the vibrancy of the world that you're in, which is fantastic. It's one of the greatest things about this game. I consider myself primarily a single player. I love single player. And then in multiplayer, you have essentially 2 main modes of play. More or less. There are multiple ways you could play other than this, but the main ways you could play are a free-for-all, where you have a bunch of players playing in a game, or a head-to-head duel. And of course you can play team games and things like that, but I'm just, for the sake of discussion, I'm keeping it to several nations or just 2 players. Several nations is a lot of fun. We have up on the Mohawk stream a community duel of about 5 of us. One member of Mohawk and 4 streamers got together. We made a nice several-part duel. That's a lot of fun because diplomacy does play a factor. You have to keep in mind who is close to winning, who is gaining an advantage, who's gaining an edge, who you can ally with. And there's a lot of actual kind of real-life, real-world politics where you're trying to negotiate boundaries and temporary alliances with other human players, and maybe you backstab that player at a later point in the game. Super, super fun. Anyway, in this head-to-head format, yeah, you're basically, it's a test of who's better at expanding, who's better at developing, who's better at military tactics, who's better at overall game knowledge, who's better at navigating things like tech trees, economic nuances, and then of course, you know, a little bit of luck dash in. It's a test of strategy, tactical skill, and luck, and reacting to situations that do or do not go your way. Definitely a different format, definitely more aggressive. Most matches will end with a penultimate battle. That kind of decides the fate of the game from that point onward. We are getting monasticism on Assyria, by the way. But it's really tactical, basically. That's the best way I could describe it. I feel like this type of play is the most tactical because you're only afforded so many mistakes in a game before your opponent is just going to have a clear advantage. Unless, of course, they're not capitalizing on those mistakes, which would then in turn be mistakes for them, right? So it's kind of... I hesitate to use the phrase chess-like. But it's just highly tactical. And it's a lot of fun. It's a surprising amount of fun. I don't really like my multiplayer, and I don't consider myself a competitive person at all, to be honest. But I've been enjoying the multiplayer duel scene quite a bit. And kudos to Alcaris for getting me into the duel scene, because I don't think I ever would have done it if he didn't let me beat him up a couple of times. He was nice enough to invite me into a game and then keep playing me after I won the first couple of rounds. So, kudos to him. Oh, yes, that's interesting. Speaking of Alcaraz, he made a comment saying, feels like StarCraft 2, but turn-based. Yes, I've actually compared this game to Age of Empires. Everybody looks at me like I have a million heads when I say that. But honestly, I just feel like this game is like Age of Empires. But it's turn-based. It's a 4X strategy game. And you're not going to finish a game in a half hour to 45 minutes. You're going to finish a game in 3 to 4 hours or maybe 7 or 8. But honestly, I've said this before, everyone thinks I have a million heads when I say it, but Old World is the closest thing to a real-time strategy game that I think a 4X strategy game will get to. And I don't mean that from a gameplay perspective, I mean that from a vibe, from a how the tactical nature of battles. Like, this game has some of the most tactical combat that I've played in a 4X. It's awesome. And the way development and techs pan out and stuff like that. Yeah, it just feels very RTS-like to me, even though it's obviously not an RTS at all. And I think that's what makes the competitive the angle fun. All right, so let's do a stat check here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. Wealth is, whoa, massively on Mojo's side. He's still gaining wealth here. Relatively even on population, slight edge to Carthage. 7 more specialists on Carthage. Quite a few more workers at this point, almost double for Carthage. But that also means that more build queue was on workers there. Although 19 military units to 13, that's a problem for Mojo. We have already had 2 fights that Mojo had lost, so he's behind in power and definitively behind in units at this point. Some of these are tribals, but not that many. Okay, and they're going to end this session soon. So this session will be coming to a close, though great. I'll keep up with my stat calculation. 5 laws on Mojo now with, oh, this is terrifying. Am I looking at Mojo? No, this is Carthage. Carthage. Oh, Mojo's getting machinery. My bad. I was wrong about that. That was Carthage getting monasticism. Mojo's getting machinery, and that's massive. Rams and onagers. That's going to be a bad day for Carthage. And did we decide to get spoked wheel? We didn't. I want to see spoked wheel on this too. Spoked wheel. Oh, we have free. Oh my God. Everybody look at this draw, please. Pause, zoom in if you have to, but I'm going to call it over here. The next draw is free chariot, civics boost, free ballista, and architecture. That is possibly the worst hand you could get. Not that we want architecture, but both free ballista, civics, and the chariot are all on the same hand. That sucks. He could actually use that chariot too. So the chariot's going to be on the chopping block for sure, and he'll probably take the civics, but it sucks to pass up the ballista. That's a really, really tough decision to make. We are improving some units here. Have a general. And we have a builder as our heir. That could come in handy for things like potential wonder pushes. Heliopolis is in the game. Circus Maximus could be useful. Museum could be useful. Honestly, Mausoleum could be useful considering we're coming from behind and we could use that extra guard. Colosseum would be divine to grab. But if you start building that in this map, then Carthage is absolutely going to send their navy after you. But yeah, 1 extra promotion would be fantastic. All right, so let's go back to stats. 61. This is amazing. Someone asked me about, can you win the game with 4 cities to 6 cities? And I'm going to use this as the perfect example. I'm not going to bother going down the list of who improved what, but even though Mojo has 4 cities and half as many workers, he had the same amount of improvements. Carthage has 63, Mojo has 60. And consider for a moment where much of our economy comes from. It comes from the map. It comes from the tiles that we improve. So this is the type of thing that we're talking about, where even though they're the definitive edge to one player, depending on your economic skill or your ability to develop your nation or what decisions you make, you can stay in line with your opponent, even despite having less territory. That's really awesome and impressive to see from Mojo, so good job there. Still, this is a massive problem. Almost 3 times as much strength on Carthage. So Mojo's really going to have his tactics shine, and he hasn't been having a strong game on that front so far. Hopefully with Hero, hopefully with a combination of both Rams and Onagers. It's a really lovely combination to have because both are devastating. And yeah, maybe he'll be able to pull something out. His opponent is making archers now, which is nice for unit diversity, but not really what you want to see when you're going into Rams. And then another thing here, I really hope to see we see some chariots on Mojo. I feel like chariots are super underrated because they're so easy to counter. There was recent discussion about whether horses are bad and we should buff them or whatever. I honestly don't know the answer to that question either. I have thoughts on it either way. But in this type of situation, with eyes on your opponent, there are no spears in Carthage. Just a few chariots, even if spears show up, right? Because you have rams, you'll have onagers, you have axes. So even if a couple of spears show up, or 4, 5, 6 spears, whatever show up, once you start getting the spears out of the way, you have all of these axes and slingers and archers that are routable. So always helpful to have a couple of routes nearby in your army. Would love to see Mojo incorporate that. Okay. Then they're stopping. So that is the end of this round. We will go into a very exciting second part 2. Both players played incredibly well. Mojo had a couple of tactical blunders here, but is staying in this game, and I think he still has a shot, tactically speaking. Certainly getting an edge with those siege units, certainly getting an edge with law pressure. Carthage is only working on its 4th law, while Assyria has 5. So that's going to be something to watch out in the future. Siege towers could really turn this around as well. If you've joined me for this match in chat, I appreciate you being here. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, I appreciate you tuning in. So please drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Definitely helps the algorithm and helps us stay engaged and, helps promote this game that all of us love. And until next time, I'm Siontific, and this is Old World. Take care.